Chat, so much cring. Hello! Welcome to another stream. I want to say thank you to Neko for re-upping their membership, QTV Soul and Valor for the 2, Edwin to the farm, hashtag cring true. Let's get some cring in the chat, boys and girls. Let's get started on this insane fucking story that has been plaguing the internet for fucking weeks now, it feels like. Jesus. All right, let's get it started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another stream. Just as a reminder to you guys, if you decide to donate, there is TTS attached to bits on Twitch, and then there's also attached to Super Chats on YouTube. If you want to become a member, we will be doing a members-only stream tomorrow, so make sure you guys stick there for it. I appreciate everybody that does support. The reason we're going to get right into the nitty-gritty is because this is a situation I've been kind of like sitting on. I've been watching it from the background, and I know a lot of other commentary channels have been watching this from the background, kind of like collecting thoughts, trying to hear out Kwite before making any sort of snap judgments. I know a lot of people kind of like gave criticism to milking the situation early on, and there's a lot of people on Twitter that immediately jumped on Kwite's dick and tried to say that he did these horrible things. Now, I wish to say to all these people that have that came out after Kwite's response and now has just switched to a new idea of what's going on and feeling good about themselves and being like, "Oh, we're so sorry, Kwite." Yeah, go fuck yourselves. All of you are the reason for the Slazo situation. Every single one of you that did what you did on Twitter to Kwite are exactly the reason why the Slazo situation happened. So please, you can suck my fucking dick. That's all I'm saying about that right off the bat. We won't go over all the Twitter replies and all that fun stuff. We're not going to do that. What I am going to do is go over the accuser's method of their TwitLonger. We're going to be going over all of their the majority of their tweets. We're going to be going over their response, and we're also going over Kwite's response in retroactive order so that we give the opportunity for both sides to be heard. I am going to have somebody who has been really on the ground when it comes to the story, and that's Diesel. We're going to bring him on, and he's going to guide me through this. Me and him are going to discuss the situation a lot more in depth, and I hope it gives you guys more of a what's the word I'm looking for? A neutral look at when allegations like these are usually dropped. So let me call Diesel real quick and get everything for you guys. All right. If Diesel's going to pick up, I don't know. Diesel might hate me. Is he going to do it? Hey.
Hello.
Hey. Hello, Diesel. Hello. Say hello to the chat. Don't be rude.
Oh, hello, chat. Sorry, I was looking at a tweet. I was tweeting out that I was on the Chris Denark stream.
Whoa, best stream in the world. What's going on right now? Stardust stream? Who gives a shit about that? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Stardust. I'm fucking kidding.
Bro, Stardust retweeted my meme but did not follow me. Okay, and also it was a horny posting meme that she retweeted of me.
So are you saying that Stardust is horny? You sick bastard.
I don't know. Is she horny for goblin girls? I don't know.
Maybe. I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. The Oscars are happening right now. Who gives an actual fuck about the Oscars? It's like giving a fuck about the streaming awards. Who gives an actual shit about... That's a whole nother thing I can rant on, but we're not doing that right now. Let me pull up the screen share for you, because Diesel, I wanted to go over basically everything. As crazy as that sounds, because I know
there's a lot to go through.
there's an exceedingly amount of information to go through. Plus, I want to make sure that both sides are represented in this, even though Kwite's video basically, in my opinion, blew them. Excuse me, he. I'm pulling a Matt Pitt here. Blew him out of the water. So I want to go over the TwitLonger first, and then I want to get your perspective on it. You can interrupt me wherever you see fit in regard to the TwitLonger. So chat, I want to let you guys know that these allegations started from a TwitLonger. This individual is named Orion. Now, Orion put out a TwitLonger on February 22nd, 2023. It starts off with, "Hello, I've never felt I could come out about this. I've struggled with this for years before writing this, and I doubt it will be anything close of years after I write this that this will be that this will ever be released. But in the case that you are reading this, I have come out and lay what has happened to me. I was R-worded by a man known as a YouTuber Kwite in February of 2018. I've been in an extremely toxic friendship / on and off relationship with him since 2017. To start in the beginning, I had found Kwite's channel when it had less than 500 subs, and as a teenager wanted to make art for him because he didn't use his face in his videos. I thought he would have had an easier time if I drew him and recommended he wore sunglasses and a face mask instead of manually keying his face out with a black box. There, I essentially came up with his persona with him and drew various talk spirits for him for free, and he only ever used maybe once. We were around the same age, and I slowly began talking and bonding over shared mental health issues. I don't know why that's a bonding thing. You should not be bonding over mental health issues. Let's see here. At this time, I was undiagnosed with autism and borderline personality disorder. I fucking... Diesel, you know I can't stand seeing that.
I'm letting you finish the TwitLonger before.
Yeah, I know. I know, but like this chat knows when I see the acronym BPD, I get like mildly furious. Like every fucking TwitLonger or situation that has happened this year has had the words BPD in it, and it's annoying the shit out of me. Anyways, let's see here. Which I have diagnoses for now. Well, wait till we see your document. And thus was unaware of how these would affect me in the coming relationship we had and how he would, most likely without knowing, take advantage of me. At first, we were extremely close in ways that helped the both of us. He shared bits of his past and I shared mine. However, slowly, my status as an artist would land me in more YouTuber circles than his would, and he would slowly try to encourage me to let him join said spaces. As a friend, I of course wanted to include him as in as many as I could, but as I did, and he made various connections outside of me, the relationship grew transactional. Chris is so disrespectful to people who have BPD. I don't give a fuck, Smaggle. While Allo deserved it. While I won't say I was the most stable person at the time, I was not actively unkind. I cannot say the same for him. When my abandonment issues would arise, he would leave me ignored, and then I was having the worst of my time. He would swoop in to save me, in quotes, and keep me under his thumb. He would yell at me or act passive-aggressive towards me when being my friend was inconvenient, but love-bombing me when it was just us or he needed something from me. He would use my memory issues against me to gaslight me about things he said and would keep most of the conversations he had on calls or on Skype because the messages delete after a set amount of time. See, I read that and I know that's bullshit. He would actively talk about his new friends to me when he wanted me to do something for him and took up a great amount of my time. Eventually, we met in real life a few times.
Kwite W.
True, Michael. I had transphobic parents, so I told him my dead name to use only when my parents were talking to him. But after knowing this information, he would use it as a way to belittle me. The first meeting was fine, but he had a rule I wasn't allowed to take pictures of him, but he was allowed to take pictures of me. After promising and begging to take a few pictures that wouldn't and still haven't been posted for memories, he let me take a few before he left. The second meeting, however, was different. We had planned to meet up while he was on vacation in my city, and thus I would pick him up in my car, and we would go to both a trampoline park and go see Black Panther. I fucking hate that Black Panther's being used like this. This is where the worst of his behavior occurred. Bro, listen, Chadwick Boseman, come on. At this time,
they got the year wrong. Sorry.
I know they got the year wrong. It just annoys the shit out of me. I know they got the year wrong. It just annoys the shit out of me that Chadwick Boseman's movie is being used like this. This is where the worst of his behavior occurred. At this time, we were both on and off flirting and had discussed that if we were both single at this time, we would take each other's virginity. Oh, that's so cringe. However, once he had come on to me in the back of He had come on to me in the backseat of my car. I started to get cold feet. He, however, did not want to take no for an answer. In the backseat of my own car, he R-worded me. All the while, I was telling him how it hurt and how I didn't want this anymore. He kept telling me this is what you wanted as he went, but soon got bored of it and got out. I sat in the car by myself for a bit before going to join him in the movie we had planned to see together. And to make up, he had me buy him popcorn. Okay. I put the event out of my mind and just two versions being bad at sex and hung out with him for the rest of the day. As he was still one of my closest friends. I had a video with him to prove we were together at the time, and I was able to post only for myself after begging him to take pictures with me because we were friends. Oh my God. A few months later, once he has gained quite a few subscribers and a larger YouTuber friends, my social support system, I wasn't. Months passed, and when I tried to come out about the emotional abuse I suffered, I received harassment from his fans. I know where that's potentially coming from. I received calls to my house to tell me to unalive myself in Minecraft, furthering my poor mental health. Eventually, however, it subsided, and through the turn of events, I was able to set up a call to reconcile with him. In this call, he tried to gaslight me further, claiming that I had led him on, or worse, assaulted him instead, all in front of a mediator who thankfully knew better than to believe him. In this call, he screamed at me, threw things and broke things, and continued to try to gaslight me. However, thanks to Danny, Lord Bung, he calmed down and apologized for some of his behavior. However, I don't believe he was sincere. I am truly sorry that I stayed silent on this issue for years, but I cannot be silent. I have been scared for myself and how the public would treat me. But I am too scared. That I am not the only victim to keep silent anymore. Anyone who has been victimized is more than encouraged to DM me. I hope you're doing okay. I know that many of you will not believe me. I don't care anymore. That's interesting. For those who do, thank you for your ear, and I hope that you stay safe. TLDR, I was R-rated by Kwite, emotionally abused, dead named, called slurs, and gaslit into silence for 6 years.
What a document.
Massive document. Massive document. That is, well, it's not massive. Like, I've seen longer TwitLongers, but like...
Yeah, I've seen longer documents at 350 pages.
Guys, are you having issue with the audio? Are we having issue with the audio? Let me know in chat right now. 1 if you can hear me, or 2 if you can't. Some people are saying shit's not working. You're good? All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. So, Diesel, I wanted to ask you because can we be forward about a lot of the things?
Yeah, we can definitely be forward about a lot of things.
So
if there's something that I can't answer, I'll just straight up say I'm not at liberty to talk about it. So.
Perfect. So I just wanted to verify with you. Once this was released, what was the initial feeling in the camp that is Kwite's camp? Like, I understand that it was probably like a really tough thing to deal with, but was it just an immediate knee-jerk reaction, being like, "Holy shit, what's going on?" Did he already know all this bullshit? Like, what's the play?
I knew this was coming before it was even public.
Okay.
That's how many people Orion had gone around and he told all these people, mutuals, people that both Kwite and I know, that tons of different people, basically, right? And that's public information, right?
Yeah, and how is there anyone in is there anyone of note that was really kind of pushing this individual, or did they just come out and do it themselves and immediately send all this information to everyone around Kwite to try and fuck with them?
As far as I know, without uncharacteristically putting anybody on the spot, I'd only say that Danny and Orion were behind it.
Okay.
Danny just being a supportive figure for Orion.
Okay, so just being supportive, but not being over the top with it. You know what I mean? Like some people on Twitter.
So the theory is that there'd be gay ops. I will tell you right now, I do not think there's any gay ops going on. That goes for chat. I don't think there's gay ops going on.
Okay.
And if it is, there's a higher chance that Orion is lying when they say they've spoken to someone. There's a very good chance that they haven't actually spoken to that person.
Okay. All right. Just making sure here.
Yeah.
Now, this TwitLonger in of itself, when you and everyone who does know Kwite saw this TwitLonger, what was the initial response now that it's out there into the ethos?
Well, I knew of
I know.
Orion even before that, so
Mhm.
I already was like, this is pretty cring.
Did you?
But
Fuck you with the cring shit. Yeah, I had to do
I,
it.
yeah, so I knew. So part of me was like, oh, maybe this will pass under the radar like it did the last times
Hmm.
before. But that clearly wasn't the case as it trended in the United States. I mean, I can't speak for Quite's state of mind at the time. I was very upset about it, obviously. You know, I've known Quite since he started his career
Hmm.
when he had like no subscribers, you know. Um, so I was really upset about it, obviously. But I knew it was also fake, but that I couldn't say anything.
Hmm.
And I had talked to Quiet. I'm like, listen, are you gonna like how are you gonna say something? Like, what are you gonna do?
Hmm.
And basically from that point on, the reason that it took him so long to speak was just because, you know, the video was an hour and 33 minutes long.
Hmm.
So he didn't really have that much time to deal with his emotions, but don't get me wrong, it definitely it fucked him. I mean, Orion
Hmm.
fucked him before, but you know, now
Yeah.
they're coming in again and trying to dig up all this shit and
Yeah, I was about to
so yeah.
say because it seems like for years they've been having this back and forth of Orion kind of like pushing themselves too hard onto Quite and kind of like using them as a crutch for a lot of their own mental baggage, and then when Quite would come back try to help them according to his video, it would the cycle would just constantly repeat with this individual not learning and not leaving Quite alone. At least that's how I've perceived it. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment. And really it was just trying any way to get back at Quite and
Hmm.
those who would side with him over Orion, you know. So that's why there were those videos. Like I know Progress isn't around now,
Hmm.
but that was one of the figures that was brought up. Progress made videos on like everybody that I was friends with. I mean, for the most pedantic, stupid shit.
He was like
Um,
a community troll, or like was he actually a contrarian?
he was well, you know, there was that whole mentality of like, you know, just commentary versus like small commentary, like the people who give a fuck about their career versus the people who just want to start shit.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a I hate using this analogy, but this is the only one I know. It's kind of like a salvo thing, right?
A couple of people like that. Oceanus less so, but then Oceanus, now Tusk Vicious, kind of doubled down and. By the way, also had a horrible set of tweets justifying his reasoning for re-uploading the video.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, basically, yeah, Orion just went around to all these people who already didn't like the people that Quite and I were familiar with and
Okay.
basically used that to get it in.
So basically, what they've been doing is going around to smaller channels and shoring support up from people that already had a confirmation bias against Quite.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's fucking pathetic. I'm gonna be upfront. If you have to go around circles with people that are going to just constantly reaffirm the hatred that you already have, it doesn't do anything. It actually just reaffirms their hatred, and then it kind of feeds into a campaign that makes things more difficult. So, Quite, in my opinion, and especially from the video, because again, chat, I did see some people in chat saying, "Did you watch the video?" I did. I also looked into this individual a lot, like Orion and everything, kind of like trying to figure out what their potential motivations were, and looking into all the information that I could. And every single time that Orion was brought up, anytime I would find anything, it was nothing positive. And Diesel has been really open and honest about a lot of things, so it really helped out that way. So we're gonna move on from the TwitLonger now that we heard their side. So there is a point during Twitter, like she gets all the support right. She even gets a Twitter space going. And Diesel, have you heard the Twitter space? He.
Pulling
Fuck.
him at Pit, Chris.
I am pulling a Matt Pitt. Fuck, my bad. He had a Twitter space. Did you hear that Twitter space?
Outside of the video clip that I heard that somebody had grabbed, I hadn't heard much of it.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
I popped in there early on, right? Like so I popped in and I was curious what was going on in the Twitter space, right? So within the Twitter space, all I kept hearing were people going, "Well, it's good." And Quite actually used the part that I popped in at, where one individual was saying, "Well, you should believe the abusers and fuck the person that they're making the accusation on and forget about it." So it was completely ridiculous, and the whole Twitter space was like this gigantic circle jerk trying to protect the accuser and saying, "Oh, the the accuser, oh man, it's so bad that you went through that. But they would also call Kwite an R word, like an R, and I don't know how to say it because I'm live on Twitch and YouTube without it fucking me. But like saying that he did these horrible things to the other individual.
Who's pulling more viewers, Chris or the Oscars?
God,
It's
yeah,
definitely
the TwitLonger, not the TwitLonger, the Twitter Spaces. Yeah, fucking I mean, again, guys in the chat, you got to realize that I really knew all the optics at play here before anything had happened. But okay, let's say you're a skeptical individual, right? You make it TwitLonger. That's fine. That's completely reasonable and right. But then to like do social appearances as an individual in a Twitter Spaces where you're just getting gassed up by individuals coming in, like, does that not just read a little suspicious?
Yeah,
I don't know. It sticks out to me. It just it reads really easily.
Well,
yeah, I've seen it before, kind of thing.
I hate to say it like this, but individuals that bring out allegations like these normally don't go onto a Twitter space and immediately start screaming it from the hilltops that it happened again. They kind of like put the information out and then that's it. I don't know if that's just my way of looking at things, or at least from my short stint on YouTube, how I've seen these things. But when it comes to Orion, it looked like they were kind of like reveling in all the new followers that they got and all the support that they got. They kept tweeting, "Thank you for all the support. This is amazing. Fuck Kwite. Use hashtag Kwite. Drop Kwite." I saw, and shout out, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Shout out to Mr. Sen for immediately sniffing out the bullshit that Orion was putting out. Orion was putting out, because I saw Sen in the fucking trenches, man. And he was going hard on that shit. So good job on Sen. There was a point, though, where they were tweeting out a bunch of stuff, right? So one of them is that they made an accusation that Kwite deleted their Discord account. Here's the tweet here. Apparently he, well, I don't have the original tweet because they deleted it, but they said, oh, he deleted his Discord account probably to remove all the stuff between the two of us, so there's no evidence. Then Kwite came out and said, I didn't delete my Discord account, and I will be responding in the next few days. Once that was figured out, Orion came out and said apparently he didn't deactivate his Discord.
Hey there, Chris. I'm ready for the cringe.
Yeah, me too.
Smile.
So it goes, apparently he didn't deactivate his Discord, just used a bot to delete every single message he sent me. This is definitely behavior of someone who has nothing to hide. That fucking aged like milk. That aged like hard milk. So let's continue on through here. And this is another thing. Seeing these people in here, hopefully you backed it up. If not, there's ways to recover it. Let me know if you need help with that. And I understand a lot of people just listen to the accuser, and you should listen to people that come out with this stuff, right? But you shouldn't jump on their dick immediately and say, okay, this is 100% true without hearing anything from the other side, which is what happened with the hashtag just drop Kwite. And I remember me and you were talking about it and how insane it was. We even went over the TwitLonger. I'm pretty sure there was a point in here where it was like, oh, I couldn't remember things and all this crazy shit, right?
They said they had memory issues.
Yeah, something along the lines of like memory issues, which my immediate response when I read the TwitLonger for the first time and I saw a bunch of this information was, how the hell does this person remember things such in hyper detail? I feel it's so weird to me that was a point that was made. It was like, oh, I don't remember things, and Kwite would use that to his advantage to gaslight me. And I'm sitting there going, what? How do you remember that exactly? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, I guess that's a plausible deniability thing where it's like, oh, Orion, could not remember things at specific details, so I can't give you details.
Well, the thing is that
also they give details.
Did you see the tweet that they put out recently? I'm saving it for the end. It might piss you off.
The document, or
no.
They put something out?
Somebody
come after the document.
I think somebody came after the document. Again, somebody took a screenshot of this. I couldn't find the tweet, so I just have the screenshot. We're gonna look at it and see if we can find it. Let's see here. So the next one, this one aged like milk too. Hey y'all, it's been 2 weeks now, and since Kwite has stayed silent and doesn't seem to be answering anytime soon, I'm probably gonna go back to my usual posting. If any news comes out, I'll address it with the seriousness it deserves. Thank you all for the support. I'm not gonna say too much about the situation until there's news. Because honestly, it's so draining to keep rehashing the same details over and over and over again. But occasionally, if something goes around, it'll probably correct. But occasionally, if something goes around, I'll probably correct any misinfo. Now, I do want to say that a lot of people were. Thank you for the memberships gifted. Thank you for the memberships, Pigeon. I am going to lower the alert box on those. Sorry, guys. We're gonna lower alerts on that just so I can talk still. But when it comes to this, and I noticed something on all their tweets, and I think you noticed it too, Diesel. I know you knew all this stuff was going to come out beforehand, but have you noticed that every single one of their Twitter threads were only allowing people who followed them and supported them to reply at all? There was no, like, dissenting opinions that were allowed in the replies.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I get it, because Kwite stands will go in and defend Kwite irrespective of currently publicly available info. But then on the other hand, commentary channels are not stupid, and we know how to read between the lines.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like, commentary is dumb as shit sometimes. Like, we fuck up shit sometimes, right? But when it comes to smelling out this kind of thing, especially, and unfortunately I'm going to be using this as a reference a lot, from the Slazo situation and, like, Zaptai and all these guys. Thank you, Michael. And from all these guys, right? The community has learned, and the ones that understand those situations still to this day have learned not to jump on allegations and start screaming and yelling that they're true until it's 100% confirmed, that there's more information out there, that people actually look into it more. I feel like that's a lot more prevalent nowadays than ever, because rarely did you see any commentary channels actually jump on this and start screaming Quite's guilty, or the accuser, Orion, is a liar. Like, not many people did that. Not many people. And I'm kind of proud of the community for that one.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the community for how they handled themselves professionally. Even Michael Alberto. Was it Michael Alberto? I know he's in the chat.
It's Michael.
Yeah. So Michael had reached out to Orion asking questions, appropriate, reasonable questions that you would ask, that added vital context to the story as it was breaking. Like, this is stuff that I think, I mean, first of all, you learn this stuff in journalism, in classes, but, you know, journalism's dead. So
it's true. Journalism's
the fact that commentary is, like, picking up that kind of slack and doing the citizen journalistic work, I'm super proud of, and I'm super happy to see it.
Yeah, it's an incredible feeling when people actually do the work versus the you know, like the Cat 10 barges of the world. You know what I mean? Like, like, nobody, listen, chat, if I'm going to teach you anything, if you join this community, if you make content in this community, the one and only golden rule, don't be Cat 10 barge. don't pull a cat. That's all you got to do. It's that easy. Now, this aged like fine, like poor milk. I'm not going to say fine wine because this is fucking stupid. This individual right here, or Taylor Lorenz, that is true. This individual right here kind of got, like, shit on immediately, because right after that tweet, I think, like, maybe, what day was this, March 8th? This was uploaded a couple of days right after this tweet. Kwite made his response. Now,
thanks, Steezel smile.
Michael says thank you. But this response came out on the 11th. Now, we are going to go through the response line by line with everybody. Thank you for the follow, Emmy, on Twitch. But we're going to go line by line on everything for you guys, because we want to be able to, again, give Kwite all the talking time that he can. I know a lot of people have already seen this, and a lot of people have talked about it, but I want to give Kwite actually his own room to talk here, and then we will interject where we go with questions. If people have questions in the chat for Diesel, who knows about this situation, Diesel can answer them and say pause, okay? Perfect. Let's go.
My account of that day. When we met up on February 18th, at one point, me and Orion were in a shopping center and came across a store that sold plushies. I saw one I liked that I was looking to buy for myself as a keepsake of the trip. Orion, through what I assume was trying to be polite, didn't want to let me pay for the plush and was very insistent that I let him cover the cost. In general, I like to pay for my own things when out with friends, and around this time is when YouTube was first doing well for me, so I knew I'd have money coming in not far down the line. This made me want to pay for my own things even more. When any of y'all first got a job as a kid or a new position that gave you a higher level of income for the first time, I'm sure you felt the same way.
Which I'm going to pause here, because it's like, this has been like digging in the back of my head, right? It's not just on the payment thing, but like the sheer fact that he has to face reveal this way. right? Like I'm still like
Yeah.
thinking about that part because if not a lot of people know, we kind of like glossed over it. She said, "Oh, I have like the photos of his face and stuff and all this stuff and us together." She posted that on Twitter for everyone to see. She face docs Kwite. So he now
Chris, you're gonna get canceled for these pronoun.
God damn it, I'm so bad at that. So bad at that. I'm so used to the other kinds of stories. He. I'm pulling a Matt Pitt. Blame Matt Pitt.
Chris isn't doing it on purpose. Chris isn't a transphobe. I wouldn't be in the call if that was the case. I know I have some regulars that watch me, but Chris is not that person. Okay?
I know
He's
you
not
don't. You
doing it
don't.
on
It's all
purpose.
right. You don't need to run defense.
know?
It's a mistake.
Yeah.
But regardless, this individual face docs Kwite, and he has to against his own wishes and his own decision, has to prove that those photos are real, and on top of that, has to be more open to his audience and just be like, "This is my face now. This is my fucking face." It's bullshit. I really hate that, and the sheer fact that she tried, fuck, I'm so bad at. I'm gonna say they from now on. They.
It's they.
Yeah, they.
Yeah.
He has to bring up. He has to be so detailed in a story that they wanted to pay for a bunch of shit and all this stuff. There's so much hyper detail that is unnecessary, but he needs to fill in these gaps. It's fucked. I hate it. And
it's really shitty. Kwite had never wanted to reveal his face ever. Period. He wanted to be able to retire into like normalcy without ever having shown his face, which is, I get it. And even, I remember like times where we'd be joking like, "Oh man, imagine you're in a controversy and that's how you have to reveal your identity."
Oh my God, did you
but-
actually make that joke with him?
Yeah, but we had made those jokes a long time ago, and he's like, "Yeah, unless something like that ever came up, I wouldn't reveal my face ever." And honestly, the fact that people are very focused in the comments on him revealing his identity like this, probably speaks volumes to how good the response is.
Yeah, I was about to say, it seems like that's the case here. I just feel fucking horrible for this guy. And to be honest, he really, really just wanted to make his own content. Like he just wanted to move away. And you told me, like you just stated, he was thinking about retiring. And he's taking a break for a month, I think he said at the end of the video or the tweet.
Yeah, it's really to be decided whether or not Kwite's gonna step away from the light kind of thing. We talked about it a little bit. I'll probably see him over this next month to just check up on him, give him
Make sure he's good.
Yeah, but whether or not he does retire remains to be seen. Obviously, he's got like a nest egg. He'll be fine, but
Yeah.
fucking there are other things you can do in this industry aside from be a creator.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it reached this level, and especially for somebody like him that really just didn't want his face or like information out there. He seems like a very private guy, and I understand that position. Like I show my face because I don't really care about that part. I'm more private on like the rest of it. Like you got my face, and you kind of know, like you know I live in New York. That's really it. Everything else I'm really fucking paranoid about, and I understand Kwite's position here. And the fact he has to be, again, so detailed on the fact that Orion wanted to pay for shit and he has to disprove all this other stuff, it's honestly tough. Let's continue on.
You want to use the money you feel for the first time that you've earned yourself to do things for yourself. This plush was not a shared cost. It was something I wanted to get specifically for me. I genuinely did not want Orion to pay for my stuff when I felt I could finally do so on my own. That is more than likely a pride thing, but it is how I was. I distinctly remember the cashier who was watching us bicker about it at checkout say something along the lines of, "Sometimes you just gotta let them pay for it," in a cheeky, young love kind of way. After going back and forth on it some, I directly communicated to Orion that I would be more comfortable if he let me pay for it myself, and I tried to be as direct and clear with this as possible. In response, Orion said something to the effect of, "Okay, I'll let you buy it if you give me a kiss later." This was a weirdly identical mirror.
That's so weird. Can I just be honest? That's weird. Hey, I want to buy this thing for you. I want to buy it for myself. Okay, you can pay me in a kiss. That's like the weirdest shit. I wouldn't sit back and be like, I'm not into you like that. It's so that's not negotiations. That's just being a fucking cringe. That's being cring. You're being super cring, my guy. That's so weird. Diesel, if you're in a situation like that, would you sit back and be like, I want to keep talking to this person?
Well, the thing is that I'm a very forward person.
Right.
You know, I don't get me wrong, I'm a flirtatious guy, so I do not have felt the same way, but you know,
but I mean,
the boundaries,
in his position.
yeah, as we go through this video, you see that there were boundaries established, and those were not respected by Orion. He broke pretty much all the boundaries that Kwite had set up.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say is like pushing it too hard and coming across really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it's like something minor between like you could debate it and say, well, that's something minor between friends. Like people make these jokes all the time, but Kwite wasn't that kind of person, and they know them as a close friend, right? So they would understand Kwite's boundaries. And you're gonna see through this video chat that this individual kept pushing past Kwite's boundaries, like really fucking hard. In my opinion, on some points.
Well, they're also 18, so they should have understood the concept of consent on like a mechanical level. The fact that was expected, really, it bothers me that somebody would say the complete opposite in a TwitLonger, and these messages show the complete opposite. And the entire message log was dumped, by the way, so you can find more examples than what was shown in the video of these boundaries being broken. It was that much of a problem, and it's really frustrating to see somebody do something like that to somebody like you care about, you know. So
yeah,
shit.
It's unfortunate, especially in this situation. There's so many things he had to reveal, but we're just getting started, chat. We haven't even gotten to like all the other shit.
To a similar situation that happened over text the day before, which I will be sharing. This time, though, I didn't get to just put the phone down and not engage. I'm actively looking to buy this thing in the moment, and Orion is right in front of me. I regret agreeing to their proposal in hindsight, and maybe if I hadn't, Orion would have stopped pushing at some point. But in this somewhat awkward situation, my brain sees that as the most immediate way out of an uncomfortable spot and to pay for the item myself like I wanted. At the time, I took the comment to be lighthearted and honestly didn't think it was something that was going to get followed through on. Later that day, though, Orion and I are in the driver's seat and passenger seat of his car, respectively, when the topic of the kiss comes up again. What I'm about to say is not a standard of consent I would have applied to anybody else back then, and it's something I've learned is also true for me and I'm deserving of as I got older. Back then, though, I was a lot younger. I was 17 and had complete shit for brains. In my head, I'm thinking, fuck, that's right, I did agree to that. Since it's come up again, I'm thinking that Orion meant it seriously and I misread the situation, and that it would be shitty to now pull out of something I'd already committed to. That is not how consent works in the slightest, even on some.
Can I be real? He was overthinking the shit out of that. He was overthinking the shit out of that. Like that specific out of the kiss thing. Yeah, he was overthinking it in the sense of like that he felt committed that he had to do it, which is unfortunate, you know? That's at least how I perceive it. There's no reason for him to feel that way, but I get where he's coming from.
When I was younger, I would agree to do things that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with because I had agreed to do them in advance.
Yeah,
it's like it's like the social order of being a teenager means that like you're an asshole if you don't, based on what you say previously. But like obviously, like an adult knows that you can just revoke that whenever you want.
Yeah, I guess it's still at the same time, I don't know, I guess I was just raised differently where you don't have to feel obligated to do that thing, but it does come across as like a form of peer pressure, I guess, if we want to like kind of narrow it down to its like easiest conceptual idea.
An example for me, right? So I was in like freshman year of high school, right? And just so you guys know, if you like, apparently if you lick a reptile, you can get like diseases, okay? So don't do that. But I was at like a haunted house, right? And I had some friends who were like, oh, you should do that. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then obviously I had learned that you shouldn't do that before doing it. But because a bunch of people were standing around me saying, oh, you got to do it, that I did it. I mean, nothing happened and nothing came of this, but
still, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. Let's continue on.
Something as relatively small as a kiss, but despite my hesitance, I did kiss Orion once. That's it. That's all we ever did. Immediately after, I was feeling weird about it. I wasn't exactly enthusiastic about the event in the first place, and I didn't want to go any further with it, so we didn't. I am not trying to paint this as some instance of me being assaulted or violated, and me and Orion can both only give our personal accounts as there wasn't a camera in the car that day. But the dynamic we had regarding sex and intimate contact is significantly different than what Orion made it out to be. And my account is far more in line with not only incidents prior to the meetup, but the type of thing Orion was saying he'd do to me just the day before. Like I said, I never had sex with Orion, and the popcorn I had him apparently buy for me is something I explicitly said the day before we met up that I would buy for Orion. After asking multiple times how much I owed Orion for my movie ticket, he wouldn't let me pay him back for the cost. Again, this is literally the day before we saw each other in real life, and I was in that same mindset of wanting to pay for my own things with my own money. I responded to him, fine, then I'm buying your snacks, as that was meant as a compromise on my part. I figured if he wasn't
I'm going to say one thing. It's going to sound kind of rude, but I'm going to teach you something, chat. Chat, I'm going to teach you something. It's going to sound kind of mean. Never, ever, 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 ever meet random Discord spurgs in real life. This should be like a cautionary tale. I don't think I'm crazy saying that. Like, not to shit on Kwite on that, but like, come on, bro. I know you were a kid, but like, Discord is not the place you should be meeting people. This is a chance for me to teach all of you. Don't meet people from Discord. Please. It never ends well.
Chris, you have not worked at this job enough. Dude, do you know how many YouTubers meet their significant other from
I know,
Discord or Twitter?
I know,
bad.
I know, but it always ends in disaster somehow. There's only one group, one couple that I will ever say made it work, and that's PewDiePie and Marzia. That's it. Please.
Yeah, you know the streamer Germa? He met his current girlfriend because she was a community member.
No more.
Which, depending on the community, is that's bad.
I don't care if you're gonna like date a fan. I guess if you're not doing anything fucking evil. But like, this is my lesson to you: do not meet people from Discord, please.
Gonna budge on the tickets, I can at least do this thing to contribute, even if it was a bit uneven. In my head, it was at least something. We go back and forth over text where Orion keeps trying not to let me buy even his snacks, but I'm standing my ground, and after the third time he tried to get me to not pay for it, I just stopped responding, because I had already said what I planned on doing for my part. Over an hour passes by after that, and Orion is still insistent on this. He texted me a brand new proposal saying, if you pay for snacks, I will smooch you. You don't want that now, do you? And yeah, quite frankly, I didn't want that. This is a lighthearted text exchange, so I'm not going to send in all caps, I do not consent or something like that, but I try to communicate that I don't want to in a relatively playful but straightforward way. I'll pay for them and dodge your affection. And even at that point, Orion still wasn't taking no for an answer. He doubled down and said he was going to smooch me anyways. Nah, you can't dodge the smooch. It will find you and it will smooch when you least expect it.
Oh god, these DMs hurt. They hurt so much. Like, I know we're trying to take it seriously, Diesel. I know. He's your friend. But, like, I hate these DMs. Orion's a fucking creep. Orion's a creep.
I'm playing it straight today, okay? Last stream, you played straight, man. Now I'm playing straight.
Yeah, you're playing straight. I just hate these DMs. I hate this, like, so much. It gives me, like, AIDS hearing the words. You can't dodge the smooch. It will find you.
I'd love to know how you talk over text with the significant
not
other
like that. Not like that. Not like that. I never used the word smooch in my entire fucking life.
Yeah, it's not something in my vernacular either when talking to women.
No, it just doesn't. It just doesn't happen. No more.
There was no dodging, only smooch. Maybe he meant that playfully, but I didn't respond to it because I was uncomfortable with the way he was talking to me. I'd said my piece on how I felt about buying the snacks as well as getting kissed, and he just kept going. I'm sure that when Orion tried to pay for my stuff, it was meant with good intentions. But in these moments, I set a clear boundary of what I preferred that he essentially said he'd only respect conditionally. This type of insistent behavior, specifically to pay for things, aren't isolated incidents. Orion even admits he has this tendency in the same testimony I shared a clip of earlier.
He drove halfway and I drove to a certain spot and we agreed to meet up. I took him around town and I paid for everything because I insisted that since I was the host, it was my job.
In regards to physical intimacy, the entire time me and Orion knew each other, I was the one most often expressing my hesitance on the matter, backing out because I got cold feet, or just outright denying to do intimate things with him. Meanwhile, Orion was always the one more forward about engaging in physical intimacy. Even if sometimes it was in a lighthearted context, Orion had a disregard for my personal choices and boundaries that I had expressed to them, often persisting beyond me showing clear discomfort and continuing to press even when I had directly declined the physical intimacy he would propose.
Which is incredibly uncomfortable, the Kwite situation. Like, he's not, because I've watched this video twice now 3 times if we're going to count now. The fact that Orion continuously pushed that boundary, and Kwite made it pretty obvious, like, even in the DMs, like, sure, there was some flirting back and forth in some of the DMs, right? Like, we can agree on that point. But I feel like Orion just pushed that shit no, they did push that shit too far. Not even a feel, they did. And you would think, as a friend, like I stated before, they would respect that. I'll never understand why this person tries to feign that they were the ones that was disrespected and not being pushy, and that Kwite was, but they were the one doing all the things that they accused Kwite of, in a sense, except for, the R-wording stuff. Nothing like that happened. It's just, it's uncomfortable. Orion just seems like an uncomfortable person.
It's like, you set a boundary of consent, and they're, like the neckbeard thing where it's, I'm trying to coercively change your mind to accidentally say yes to the sex. Like, I had a friend in college where she was like, oh, let's be friends with benefits, right? And so we're thinking that we're gonna go upstairs and we're gonna like have sex, right? I get upstairs and then she starts crying. Right, I immediately go, okay, nothing's happening. Right?
Yeah,
and I did not bring it up again.
You put your hands up. You put the hands up, and you go, okay, listen, I'm sorry. Let me help you out. Let me make you feel better, and then we'll talk about it later or never again.
You don't need to say no to like tell somebody no. You know what I mean? Like you have sex with someone. I get you. They don't need to say, yes, I consent to the sex, Chris.
Yeah, no, not that's usually not what happens. In real life, that's usually not what happens. It's your judgment and being able to tell when you should continue to engage and when you should disengage. There's a way to tell. And if you're not somebody who can understand that, you're somebody that's going to get yourself into an issue. Whether or not you did anything wrong or right, it really depends on the situation, right? But in this case with Kwite, he just got screwed over. That's at least how I'm looking at it. And that this individual like pushed the boundary too far. Let's continue on.
Screenshots Orion used as proof of his claims is literally Orion floating and initiating the idea of us hooking up when we see each other, and my response is being unsure, then stating a reason why I wouldn't want to do it. He also cropped out the next message where he's the one to push for it even further by asking if I have condoms. You could read that as him trying to give solutions to a problem that I brought up, but I personally didn't want to continue with that discussion because I wasn't comfortable. Orion says that we had been on and off flirting and talked about how if we were both single and virgins, we would take each other's virginity. This is not something that was ever formally and fully agreed upon from my end, and much less as something we do at some specific place or time. The virginity thing was first mentioned over half.
This sucks that he has to do this part. Like, this part sucks. Like, I feel horrible for this guy, is that he has to come out and say what he's going to say soon. I feel terrible for Kwite. I feel actually horrible. He has to do this part.
This sucked, being his friend and him having to
to out
these things to the world. This one sucked.
Yeah, this one is fucking horrible. Like, I actually feel terrible for this man. Jesus.
Half a year earlier in August 2017, where Orion was the one to originally propose the idea in a voice call, and I was the one who wanted to think on it further. While I don't have a recording of that call for the exact wording, Orion specified that a heart message he sent was platonic, and in response, I joked that it didn't seem very platonic, just straight up gay. That's because we weren't talking about just cuddling or something in that vein. He had proposed explicitly having intercourse, and I was the one still unsure about it. The reason I was in Florida was never to hook up with Orion. I was vacationing with my family. Orion was always aware of this, and I only planned to see Orion in Orlando because he was someone I knew who lived in the area. Another time, on December 26, 2017, after a voice call and small message exchange, Orion asked me to come down south, and at the time, I straight up said no. Where Orion then jumps to the reason for this being, oh yeah, your penis no working. Essentially,
that's just... okay. Now I feel even worse for the guy.
Why? It's funny, right?
It's not. It's not funny. It's not funny. Like, it's horrible. Like, this person is trying to guilt you. Yeah, somebody's trying to guilt you into meeting with them, right? It comes across to me as like trying to guilt him to visit them, right? But then using the words, "Oh, right, your penis no worky." That just adds like another layer of like, I fucking hate this person. Like,
Oh my god. You know, I was sitting in a call with Kwite. I saw that message and I went, you know, people are gonna harp on that and it's gonna become a meme, right?
I'm not.
He's like, I know.
I'm not. Listen, it's a good point. It's a good point. Like, it just shows like their lack of understanding of his boundaries still. Like, he's like, I don't want to do that. And they're just like, oh yeah, right. You don't want to talk to me because your penis doesn't work. What the fuck? Like, why? Why even bring that up? Why didn't he block him? Because they were friends. And as you're going to see throughout the video, Kwite felt obligated to speak to this individual and help him. You're going to see later on a little bit more. But I fucking hate the goddamn part about his penis not working. I hate why. I feel so bad for him. God damn.
Essentially assuming the reason I wouldn't come down was specifically because of not being able to do sexual things, when I'm not the one who has ever been shown to be the person most concerned about doing that. My penis not working, meaning my performance issues, are another thing that I'll get into shortly, but even though at the time I probably meant my response lightheartedly, as when it happened, I did see this conversation as just jibbing with a friend. When I said, this is why I don't hang out with you, it still has a pretty clear undertone on how I felt about the situation. Another time, on October 28th, 2017, Orion tried calling me, and when I didn't pick up, he said this: I know you're online, fuck you. If you don't pick up, I'm gonna fuck you.
This sounds like a flamenco moment to Vosh. Have you seen those? Have you seen those DMs that flamenco sent to Vosh?
I have not, but I have a meme of what I feel like flamenco is, but
yeah, no, dude, it's like so the joke, or at least the situation that was shown, right, is that there's literally a whole entire list of multiple DMs that Flamenco sent to Vosh and just kept calling Vosh like a pedo and shit, right? So like he just kept like DMing Vosh and being like, answer the call, fuck you, answer me, answer me. So that's how I look at Orion, is just like that. Like if he doesn't pick, if Kwite doesn't have to pick up if Kwite doesn't pick up the call, Orion just spams him with random shit to force Kwite to respond to them. Like that's fucking unhinged behavior. That's unhinged behavior. All right, hello internet anarchists, welcome to the stream.
Pretty explicit when I say in response, don't fuck me, and then I'm busy. Busy being an e-thought, okay? I will fuck you. You didn't pick up, I don't make the rules. I didn't have a strong reaction back then, as it seemed pretty lighthearted, but also because this was how Orion would joke towards me being busy or denying them things fairly regularly. When I said no to having Orion on a podcast I had, he said he'd suck me off if I did. When he asked me for a Discord rank, and I said,
you know what's funny? I'm gonna make something funny out of this, trust me. You know how the Mr. Girl Destiny thing's going right now? Do you know anything about that drama?
Yes.
All right, so you know how Mr. Girl has been trying to get girls to turn on Destiny and be like, oh, well, he had sex with me so that he would have me on his stream, and he used his position of power to get me on stream by having sex with me. This is what, if Destiny actually did those things, this is what he would go after Kwite for. Like it fits that. Where a girl's like, an individual, not a girl, an individual is like, I'll suck your dick to get on a podcast. That Mr. Girl would wish that they had DMs like this that Destiny would have. That's literally what it comes across as to me. Holy shit.
Said no. Orion said they'd fuck my ass. And on the rare occasion you do see me reciprocate a sexual advance, like the Skype log where I tell him, you have to draw porn, and Orion says, I will, it is still a topic that Orion was the first to bring up the idea of, had initiated by sending me explicit pictures he had drawn himself, and well after the last time I had said anything concerning the topic, Orion would continue to mention as something he was willing to do. All this still being something only happening over the internet, where it required no actual physical contact on my part, making my anxiety around it much more manageable. Orion claimed that we are both ex-friends and partners who had been in an on and off relationship from sometime in 2017 till February 2018. The screenshot Orion showed of him asking who he could tell about us dating, where I respond that I prefer to keep it to mutual friends, but I ultimately trust his judgment with whoever. That was said in the only period of time we have both agreed on the term dating, a period of time that lasted less than 2 days. What Orion never showed was that at the end of that conversation those lines were cherry-picked from, there was an abrupt tone shift where the conversation switched from something two people freshly in
Not as funny as you are, cute. Listen here, buddy. You're hot. That's you. No, you. Okay, cringe.
A new relationship might say
No offense, quite. This. Oh God, the
Bro,
total shift
I
is
wanna
so
know.
bad. The total
Chris, how
shift
do
is
you-
so bad.
How do you flirt with?
Not like this.
partners?
Not like this.
How do you call them cute? I want to know.
No,
Tell
I
us
don't.
right now.
I don't go that. I don't do the "that's you" to them. Like I don't fucking do
you.
that. I don't do the "that's you." It's like playing the Uno reverse card of flirting.
All right. Chris is definitely not a bottom, guys. All right.
There's a lot of cring in the chat. A lot of cring in the
A lot of
chat.
cring in the chat.
A lot of
I saw
cring.
somebody's bringing up the age of consent thing. I think, guys, we're really splitting hairs and missing the forest for the trees if we're getting up and up about someone being 17 and someone being 18.
Yeah, you're
I
being
believe that
ridiculous.
We're talking about like a few months difference in age here, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, obviously, don't take my word on that, but we're really splitting hairs here, okay?
Yeah, and that's
we're talking about 2 high school seniors at the end of the day.
yeah, and people that jumped at it's like, oh, what is the age of consent? Okay, it's a year difference. If it was
It
like,
is-
if this, like, let's say Orion was 14 and Kwite was like 19 to 20, then yeah, there's a fucking conversation to be had there. But that's not what happened. And if you think that there's
Yeah.
any sort of like age of consent issue, you're an actual idiot. You're an actual dipshit.
Orion is a lot of things, but Orion is definitely not a pedophile. if
Yeah.
that's where this is
Yeah, there's no pedophilia. This is not a pedophile situation, guys. I can't with this shit.
spend so much time in commentary. I just see pedophiles every time I close my eyes.
Yeah,
Ah, EDP.
every time I close my eyes, there's another pedo out there. Oh, every TwitLonger that gets dropped, there's another pedo.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do it. Oh my god.
say to each other to something more like strangers making small talk for the first time. This is because the night before, barely a day into us being together,
Pure cringe. This is a great way to spend a Sunday.
I'm glad that you're enjoying the pure cring. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the cring.
I broke it off. The relationship started because I told Orion I had a crush on him after meeting up for the first time in June 2017. But I was also the one who just as quickly broke it off. I don't have a recording of this phone call saved, but all the reasoning I stated in the call was explicitly mentioned and discussed in that text conversation where we spoke with each other more like coworkers than good friends.
Okay, so I see Darkblade in chat. Orion smeared Kwite, so why not smeared him back based on technicalities. I know you had the LMAO in there, but I do see people on Twitter and like people that have made videos being like, we should destroy Orion, or like Orion is this and that, and we should go after them. We shouldn't go after them. And here's my reasoning why, right? Kwite's already done the major heavy lifting to disprove the allegations against him. Orion, in this case, right? Unfortunately, unless Kwite presses charges, there's nothing that's going to happen. And there's no reason for people to like go up in arms and start like attacking Orion. Even though that they are allegedly in this moment a shitty fucking person that did horrible shit, you should not go out of your way to be some sort of vigilante into the night and trying to destroy their life. I don't think I'm crazy saying that. Right?
Yeah. The thing is that we need to be better than Orion. It's really like an eye for an eye thing. You know, I don't think it would solve any of these issues that are big issues. You know, it would just make the situation worse. Like we want to do justice to the story, not fucking
go after
spread
them.
misinformation or like go after them.
Well, yeah,
they're already they're getting raked over the coals. We don't need to do it.
Yeah, you have to understand that even if somebody is like this, right, it's not your story, so you cannot you should not go after these people. And I really need to emphasize that. You should not go and attack this person on Twitter or try and get a hold of their information or try to fuck with them, because it's just going to add fuel to the fire on their end. And it's going to make things worse for everybody involved. I hope you guys understand that position just a little bit. So please, nobody go over and deal and like try to fuck with Orion or try to create mountains out of molehills. You know what I mean?
or partners. It confirms that I was the one who ended it because I was scared I'd made the wrong and a rash decision and had only gone to Orion as a rebound. I was coming off the back of a very bad breakup with an ex-boyfriend who started dating another friend of ours just a day or two after saying me and him should call it quits. And while that technically didn't overlap with the time we were together, it felt like my ex had cheated on me twice within 4 months at that point. And while I'm older and mostly over it now, it hurt a lot at the time. It was just a week after that breakup that I saw Orion and this whole relationship dialogue happened and then ended. Well, in this instance, it was me who admitted having feelings for and wanting to become closer in a romantic way with Orion. At no point did we ever do anything sexually intimate outside of sending flirtatious messages within that time frame and outside of it. And it was also me who called off taking our friendship to that next level of intimacy because I was again the one getting cold feet from my nerves around the situation. My apprehension when it comes to sexual contact is not limited to Orion. Not only did I never have sex with him, I have never had sex with anyone. Even as of recording this video, I am still a virgin. It has been a long...
That is so unfortunate that he has to say that out loud. I
mean,
fucking I know it's important for him to make that, but it sucks. He has to do the face reveal. He has to say that he's never had sex with anybody. I know it's like small thing to prove your innocence, but like still it sucks. That's like a part of his life that there was no need to talk about it publicly, and he's being forced to do that.
Yeah, a thing that I think is important. Fuck, I completely lost my train of thought.
It's all right. It's all right.
I have like a weird like Rain Man knowledge of this situation.
Yeah, no, I know you do.
Continue.
All right, no problem, man. Just interrupt when you want to interrupt, all right?
Running insecurity of mine. Due to my general focus on work, the pandemic killing the ability to pursue anything in that vein for years, as well as causing me to backslide in my social ability and confidence like it did most people, a fair few of my friends have had to deal with me drunkenly venting about my nervousness around it. And it's something I have had casual discussions with my friends about nearly a year and a half after Orion claimed I had raped him. The part in those DMs where I mentioned me getting my penis sucked one time was in reference to summer 2018, right after my senior year ended. I was talking to a girl I was friends with from my school who had thrown a graduation party where we ended up making out. One of the nights after, I ended up at their place again and I got fellatio from them. I told my friend Ethan that we didn't go any farther because I didn't have condoms on me, but what I didn't mention was that I had her stop the oral early because I couldn't feel it or get my penis entirely hard. I can masturbate on my own just fine, but when it comes time to do the deed with someone else, my nerves have stopped me from being able to perform because I have incredibly bad sexual anxiety when it comes to the actual physical act. It's to the point where every time I've been in a real-life sexual situation, it has caused me to be the one to back out of them before it can ever fully progress to intercourse. One person I did mention this insecurity to was Orion, who in late 2017 I vented to about an earlier...
Pause. I remember what I was going to say.
Okay, now you're going to remember. Now you're going to remember what you're going to say.
Quite's in his early 20s. I mean, people lose their virginity at different ages.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's still not something you need to tell your audience. You know what I mean?
You shouldn't have to tell your audience that information. You shouldn't have to publicly put yourself on blast for that.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to, but this is a situation in of itself that he's forced to do it.
For any of the virgins in the chat, you don't need to like rush to go get rid of the V card, okay?
Yeah, no, you don't have to. You don't have to rush to get laid. It's just along the lines of being a public figure. That is something that there's no need for you to talk about it unless you want to talk about it, but he was forced to talk about it. That's the issue. Shay, Chris, we watch Augie in Cell King. Yeah, true. Augie's never getting laid. Augie, fucking jokes.
Incident where a boyfriend I had at the time was giving me a hand job and I just could not get it up all the way or finish. I was already an insecure teenage virgin and I was stupidly embarrassed about having these performance issues. So I essentially begged Orion not to share what I confided in him. Me and that boyfriend tried more than once and never figured it out, and my unsuccessful attempts to get it up persisted until just 3 months before the alleged rape, at which point me and my then boyfriend had broken up, so I was not doing it with anyone at all. That is a major issue I would have had to figure out very very quickly in the time between those messages in February when Orion says the assault happened. Further showing he knew about this still persistent issue and insecurity of mine, you might remember a message I showed earlier where he poked fun at me for my dick not working in regards to me not wanting to meet up with Orion down south. The cold feet I get with sexual contact is something I've had another stunted interaction because of as recently as February of this year. The last day I was in Brighton in early February, I was making out with a guy who I got on with in a club named Club Revenge. But I chickened out of doing more and left the club early because I was nervous and I had a flight home in the morning. It was to the point where he even offered to come over just to keep me company because of how anxious I ended up getting in the club. This has been a continuous issue, not just with getting it up, but engaging in sex in general that has made me incredibly anxious to go all the way with anybody at all. These examples might seem sparse, but there are so few because they are genuinely the only times I have ever been in a situation close to actual sexual intimacy, with me failing to follow through every time. Part of this anxiety stems from me having also been sexually assaulted in the past, both before the time Orion alleges I assaulted them and after. Once by a coworker over twice my age when I was 17 and working an awful fast food job, and the other was in a club when I was 19 by someone who thought I was more into them than I was, but didn't bother to check before putting their hands on me. Pain is not meant to be compared, but I do know what it's like to have your agency taken from you and to feel helpless to do anything about it. Being told over and over again I did the worst version of that to somebody else when I know what it feels like from experience has been soul-crushing. In his Twitter,
I feel fucking horrible for that part, because now not only did he have to do the face reveal, publicly come out that he's a virgin, that he's terrified of like sexual intimacy, he also has to out the fact that he has been taking advantage of himself, and then this person weaponized that information against them, knowing that he knows what that's like. That's the part to me that is the most disgusting part of this, is that Kwite went through something like that, and Orion used that to their advantage to completely try to rip apart his public image. It's insane to me.
Yeah. I don't know. Part of me honestly wants to be like, Orion is like an evil person, but then the other part of me is like, Orion, he's unhinged. He is very unwell. Mentally, something is very broken.
Yeah, there's something that's broken somewhere. But that, in my opinion, and this is the part that I'm going to sound like kind of like a dick, I don't think a lot of what this person says is their mental issues excuses them from trying to ruin someone's life because they just stopped talking to them. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it makes you a dick at all to say that.
I don't think it's an
having
excuse.
Mental issues, it sucks.
Yeah.
You deal with them. But having mental issues does not give you a free pass to be a shitty person to other people.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And if somebody turns around and says, well, my BPD had me do this, I sit back and I go, but you could still have cognizant thought on situations and actions that you're about to make. Yes, are you more impulsive? Sure. But the situation being is that you still can't use that as an excuse for later on and what you've done later on. Like, you can't just fall back on it as like a safety net and be like, oh, well, I have all these issues with me. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're still removed from criticism. You're removed from trying to commit life ruination. That's my issue. And them trying to say, well, I was going through a tough time. I don't give a shit that you were going through a tough time. You still made the decision to try and ruin someone's life. Period. Like, there's no more conversation outside of that. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I the way I see the TwitLonger, and Orion had been going around to people for a while, kind of like talking this up. He would go to other YouTubers, different, confidants of Kwite. And like, this isn't like a spur of the moment. You don't just like, it's not a crime of passion to post a TwitLonger. That was a premeditated act.
Yeah. It literally says it. It literally says it in the beginning. I will write this. This will I doubt I'll be anything close of years after I write this. This has already been thought about and planned out. It comes across as premeditative.
Yep.
Christ.
TwitLonger, Orion says that when several months passed after the falling out, that he tried to come out about the alleged emotional abuse he suffered, but that he received harassment and calls to his house telling him to kill himself for it, which only worsened his mental state. This is in reference to a video I've used several clips of so far while making my arguments that was uploaded by a YouTuber named Tusk Re-upload, and at the time of the upload went by Oceanus. If Orion was harassed and threatened for being in that video, I completely and harshly condemn those actions, and
Okay, so this individual Oceanus, what is, because I know he's going to explain it, but is there anything else additional we need to know about Oceanus? You said that they were somebody that was going, was this the individual that was kind of like the Spurg of the community that would just say negative shit all the time for content?
There was, I mean, obviously there was more than just Oceanus, but Oceanus was one of the ones that
the main ones
I remember because they would make videos. And a lot of the crux of their video on Kwite is based on information that is like, I mean, outside of Orion is also not correct. There was like allegations of terms of service abuse, which were bogus as fuck.
Most of the time those are.
They were built up on false like information that they got that was just incorrect. Like it was just fucking incorrect shit.
Okay.
And then since that's come out, they've had tweets about it that I archived. But we'll get to that after we
we'll get
watch
through
a
the
clip
video
from the video.
Yeah. All right, so this individual was just like, what's with the Spurg talk? Spurg is a way of just saying like small commentary channels that make bullshit videos.
Ryan should never have been put through that. If people out there did those things, they should be ashamed of themselves and know they have no safe harbor in my community. I have never and would never instigate or support this kind of behavior. That video is something I have never acknowledged publicly until now. This is because I viewed the video then and still do now as an attempt to put my reputation into question by saying anything that its creator could think of. Whether it was based on shaky evidence or even no evidence at all, it didn't matter. It was designed to get a reaction out of me. That video was called Giving Kwite the Axe, and Tusk explicitly said in the video it was made with the goal of destroying my career.
This species is called a Kwite. He is often located in a...
What is his fucking... What's his damage on Kwite? Like, what's the motivation? Like, I'm trying to understand, like, what's this dumbass's damage?
You're like a small commentary channel, right? You're trying to get a leg up. And, like, the optics at the time were that the community that Kwite hung around were bad people. They were bad creators, right? There was a video on I'd hate to bring them up, but Wild Spartans, right?
Yeah,
is a confidant of mine, right? And a while ago when he did commentary, people got on his ass because he had his videos be 10 minutes long. And so there were commentary videos made that just complained about the length, and now everybody does over 8-minute commentary videos.
Yeah, well, now the meta is you need to have something that's at least like 30 minutes to an hour to hit the algorithm nowadays. It's just how it works now.
Yeah, so it was like basic stuff about like the kind of content that was being produced. You know, the shadow of Leafy looms large over commentary, and Kwite used to be much more of a commentary channel. Now it's just more internet reactions and comedy stuff. But that was what the reason this response is so good is because you cut your teeth on commentary, you know how to do drama, you know how to respond to it, you know.
Well, I recommend everyone at least try to like figure out how to handle drama before making content, or at least try your hand at like drama content and do it as best you can so you learn, God forbid, if something like this does happen, you know how to handle it. Especially in Kwite, just like you said, Kwite's original content was commentary. He used to run in the drama sphere, so he knows how to handle this shit.
Yeah. So a lot of videos that got made were ones like that. I'm even certain there's some that are about me, but it's probably just how I cover drama, or if I was a little too, I don't know, opinionated on it or something. But
yeah, no, I have videos made of me, and I'm a fucking small channel.
Yeah, man, I watch some videos. Our boy Smart Alec.
There's a lot of people have made videos on me recently. I don't know what's going on.
But yeah, so that's that, and the video is quite old. And even when Oceanus re-upped it, he was in the comments arguing about half of the fire.
Oh my
it all
god,
aged super badly.
You gotta love it. You gotta love when that happens. Let's continue on.
Bland setting and can be seen wielding an item whilst recording. It's time to give the axe to his career.
In it, Orion gave a spoken testimony about their timeline of knowing me and the apparent emotional abuse I did to them. That testimony was the only thing he gave to support his claims back then, much like the current allegations. Both times, Orion said a whole lot and gave next to nothing, or literally nothing in this video's case, to substantiate any part of his claims. The video is littered with falsehoods, outright lies, and contradictions of Orion's current version of events. For example, the clip I showed at the start of the video, where when discussing the day we met up and watched Black Panther, Orion described two completely different versions of events, both tonally and even how he felt about the event after the fact.
It was fun, and I distinctly remember him getting out of my car, but stopping midway and saying, "Just remember, I really care about you."
What was completely missing from that video was any mention of sexual contact at all. I don't mean just sexual misconduct, I mean any account of us having any physical intimacy at any point. What Orion did do was publicly out my struggles with self-harm.
I wasn't his best friend, but I was one of his closest. I helped him through self-harm, which I'm still susceptible to.
This is something that I have never at any point before that video was uploaded, all the way till now, ever spoken publicly about.
The sheer fact that this individual outed that information unprompted, oh my God. And this video obviously this video didn't get a lot of traction and didn't have an impact on his career or anything like that, obviously, but it's still fucked up that this person would just out that private information. And they didn't even talk about it in the TwitLonger either. So there's a bit of a... if they knew everything, they should have put everything in here and stayed consistent, but they couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't even do that.
There was a question in the chat. I have a question for Diesel. What happened to the Loudmouth podcast? I used to watch it all the time between 2018 and 2019. So that's a long story, and I'm going to give a very short answer to something that probably deserves much more time. If you're curious, Blues Dank has it on his channel, but he goes over basically, people fall out, they get new friends, shit like that. And so that's basically what happened with the Loudmouth podcast. I am now, I can say on good terms with both Kwite and Wild Spartans. But yeah, so that's why it ended. And yeah, basically that's it.
Stuff happens. Let's continue on.
Or ever intended to. It is one of my deepest and most personal struggles that Orion was willing to expose to the public without a care just because it became useful as a tool to hurt me with. And it feels like, considering what he says later, to hold over my head that he knew about. Throughout the video, Orion continuously drives home how good of friends we used to be before saying how many secrets he had on me.
So after he didn't respond to Discord messages, I texted him on his phone because I had his phone number, as well as I'd met his parents, I had his address. I have a lot of secrets on him because we were best friends.
Okay, hold on. Inconsistency right off the bat. First, they state that I wasn't really his best friend, but I was his close friend. I also have all this information on him, like his phone number, his parents, I've been to his house, like all this crazy shit. This to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if it sounds like I'm going a little hyperbolic, weirdly sounds like blackmail.
It sounds like a threat, yeah.
It sounds like
agree.
Blackmail to me, just like a little bit, right? It gives off this tiny little, like, this thing in the back of my head. It feels like a form of blackmail. Like, I don't want to say 100%, but it's the way it came across. You know what I mean? I want to be fair, even though Orion sucks, I still don't want to make definitive statements because it sounds like that to me. I'm so fucked. My brain hurts. Oh, Chef needs to leave the room again. All right, let's continue on. Fucking hell, man. Why? Why did you have to wording it like that? Just it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, that was by far the worst way to word it.
Yeah, that was maybe the worst way to word it. Well, he didn't answer my Discord DMs or calls, so I texted him on my phone. I texted him on his phone. I know everything about him. Bruh, I'd be terrified. Terrified.
It came off as malicious to me when it was first released and still does now. Considering the private issues of mine Orion was willing to share about me in public, I feel like nothing, even just a passing comment, would have been off the table. And yet any mention of sexual contact is completely absent in any form from his previous testimony. In that testimony, from the jump, Orion gets the timeline of events objectively wrong. In the video, Orion...
I'm going to answer QTV Stolen Valor. What are the genders here? Is one of the people transitioning? I'm so confused. Also Kring, also Edwin to the Fran. Okay, so QTV. The individual that made the allegations against Kwite is a transitioning female to male. So they were once female.
Transmasculine.
Yeah, they're transmasculine, sure. Now they are transitioning into becoming a male. All right? Are we good? Trans male. It's the correct terminology. So just letting you know right off the bat, we're going to use he.
They use he, they pronouns. They also have neo pronouns that I would never fit into a normal sentence, like meow and paint. But
yes.
You know, just
I'm sorry, QTV. I will be more specific on that. This is a female to male.
What are the genders here? Is one of these people transitioning? I am so confused. Also cringe.
Chris and
Also
Ark,
#Edwin
the person fighting for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, well, hey, I gotta be respectful here. If Turkey Tom can be respectful with null about like pronouns and shit, and null does not like that shit, I can work my hardest to be respectful too. All right, let's see here.
says we met in early 2016.
I met Kwite early 2016, around about January, because it was around about my birthday.
This is instead of early 2017, like he says now, and all records point to the latter being the case. This directly puts the timeline he gave back then off by a year. You could excuse Orion as having misspoken, but it's a mistake he makes every time he mentions what year something happened in.
But then we started to get really, really close. Especially around about summer of 2016, we met up in my home city.
When that actually happened was in summer 2017. Orion's current version of events,
Which, by the way, guys, we didn't show it before.
In my home
Hold on.
city.
when that actually happened was in summer.
We didn't show this before. I didn't have it up. Again, this is the information that she posted underneath the TwitLonger, face doxing him and saying, well, I'm not going to show any of that information, and then proceeds to show it anyway. So just giving you guys a heads up on that. So right there, that was posted to Twitter.
2017. Orion's current version of events agrees with me that we had first met both online and in real life in 2017.
Cut to planning to VidCon. We met up in February of 2017. Cut to February where we met up for the second time, and I remember it was February because we went to see Black Panther.
Orion implied Black Panther came out in 2017. He says cut to...
Imagine that you have to use Black Panther as a reference. I'm sorry, Kwite. I don't mean to laugh at that. I don't mean to laugh at that, Kwite. But that is wild to me that you have to use the release date of Black Panther to show consistent timeline of events when the other individual has lack of consistency on the timeline events. That is wild to me that Black Panther is being used as a reference. Oh, god damn. Wakanda forever. True. Chadwick Boseman, great actor.
February 2 separate times, but only mentions what year it was once. He either means that I met up with him only the one time in February 2017, which was when we would have watched Black Panther, and is objectively untrue, or he added an entirely new instance of us meeting up, which puts an extra year on the timeline of our...
You see the guy in chat, BBP before Black Panther.
It's like fucking the Star Wars fucking timeline. It's like after the Battle of Yavin.
I found that way fucking funnier than I thought. Oh god.
friendship. Either way it was meant, his timeline of these alleged events would be objectively wrong and at odds with his current version of the allegations. If you think I'm nitpicking with the years, this isn't an issue exclusive to raw dates, but spans of time as well. In the video, Orion says I started ignoring him for 2 weeks after seeing Black Panther.
2 weeks later, he randomly starts ignoring me.
In his current version of events, Orion said that several months had passed after Black Panther before I cut him off. The reality is closer to Orion's original testimony, but both are still wrong. The call where we fell out happened on March 20th and was almost a month to the day after we had last met up on February 18th. My contact with Orion had petered off into almost nothing only a week before, but we did still occasionally message. In the period of absolute silence where I didn't speak to Orion through text, call, or otherwise at all was only 3 days long. Orion also claimed I called him out of nowhere.
In the middle of a call with one of my dear friends, The Right Opinion,
Dear friends, The Right Opinion.
Yeah.
I don't mean
they were...
I don't mean to put it on blast here. I'm just curious.
Orion was a community orbiter.
Okay, just an orbiter.
Yeah, he went around to a bunch of people and tried to get to know people.
Okay.
Obviously, in this video, Kappa shows up later, so
All right,
you
all
know,
right.
so they became connected in the community. Then.
And I know that the Right Opinion doesn't get involved in this stupid ass shit.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't give a fuck about this kind of stuff. Tro was on the good list, guys. Tro didn't do anything.
I get a call from him.
Because I know some people are gonna zero in on that, and I just want to like jump to that and be like, hey, like he didn't do anything. He didn't instigate nothing. This person is completely independent. Because I know people are gonna hear the big name like I did and go, whoa, what about that? Because some people do that.
And I think, oh, finally he's made some time. He's not busy anymore.
When in reality, I was returning the single call Orion had given me over those 3 days only 2 hours after he had originally sent it. Towards the end of his testimony, Orion had this to say about what he did after our March 2018 call.
I texted, DM'd a shared friend of ours, asking if, just because Kwite doesn't like me right now, if we could still be friends.
Oh, Kwite doesn't like me anymore. Can we still be friends? Dude, that is fucking overly clingy shit. Oh, hey, can we still be? I just want to be friends. Can we have a mediator? Dude, if I have to get in a call with somebody that I don't want to talk to anymore and they are demanding a mediator to talk to that, I would fucking be like, you're crazy. You can't talk to me like a fucking person. And if I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to fucking talk to you. Why do I need to get in a call with a mediator? You're not my significant other. You're not my fucking family. You're none of this shit. Get the fuck out of here.
This pissed me off when it came out. It pisses me off now. You know, this whole like working up the emotions thing. I mean, even now it comes off like crocodile tears. Don't get me wrong. I think they are actually jilted over it. But like,
but it comes across very disingenuous sometimes.
Yeah. He should be able to put this relationship behind him. You know.
Yeah,
Orion should be able to fuck off.
Like a normal person, right? So this is the thing with really clingy, parasocially inclined people, right? Is that they will do anything and everything to keep the relationship going, no matter what, because they see you as a crutch more than anything. And I think that's what Orion was doing, is using Kwite as a crutch for their own personal issues. And just kept downloading all of their problems on the Kwite. That's at least how it looks like to me. I don't know if I'm getting that wrong, but to be honest, that's how I look at it.
I think that's a fair takeaway.
Yeah, that's how it comes across. And the fact that this person asked somebody to be a mediator, and apparently it's Bung, right? Bung was a mediator.
Yeah, Bung, who, Jesus. The chat tonight is just going to be absolute fucking cancer. But Bung is also trans, just for everybody to be aware.
Yep, just letting people know. Letting people know before there's more confusion, chat. Again, if you have any questions, you guys can tag me in the chat, or you can set a super chat for TTS, all right?
Obviously, Kwite had talked to him because he then sent me a 5+ paragraph note about how disgusting and selfish I was. He told me a lot of the things that Kwite had told me.
Tusk shows the screenshots of this at the end of the video, where it's revealed the friend of ours was Kappa Kaiju, who it sucks I have to name in this, but I don't feel I could properly make this point without doing so. Orion said that Kappa's opinion was a result of Kwite having talked to him already.
Obviously, Kwite had talked to him because
And I had spoken to him first, but the nature of that discussion and what Orion did to prompt it is very important. In that March call, I was giving Orion, to the best of my ability, a level-headed explanation of why I wanted to cut them off. He was codependent, he was a drain on me emotionally and mentally, and he had long gotten in the way of A, my efforts to take care of my own mental health, and B, live my life. Orion told me that he apparently noticed I'd been withdrawing from my older friend group overall in favor of new people. At the time, I could see there being some truth to this. I was hanging with some new people more, others less, but I was still in contact with plenty of folks I'd known for years in that community, a whole lot of whom I still talk to today. It was nothing actively malicious, but I could at least understand it from his perspective. But then he says that the mutual...
That's nice of him to see it from that perspective, but this is something that everyone needs to understand when you're growing up. You're not going to be friends with the people you were friends with years ago a lot of the times. Your life changes, schedules change, you're not going to be able to see people that often. You could still attempt the friendship, but trying to say that it's a negative for somebody to move on just shows that you don't want to move on yourself. You're projecting onto them that they're like, oh, well, you're leaving and you're an asshole for leaving us behind. No, not really. They're growing. They're changing as a person. And Orion trying to use that as like a negative against Kwite just kind of screams of their own insecurities. That's at least how I'm perceiving it. Ugh.
Friend, Kappa, had agreed with him that they see this happening too. That was the first I'd ever heard of that. If it was true, if multiple of my friends are noticing this about me, it's like, whoa, am I the problem? So I asked. It turns out Kappa never said that. At the very least, not in the way Orion...
So they make a point that like, oh, Kwite's moving past all of his friends. He doesn't talk to anyone anymore. He doesn't want to be friends with the old people. And using this person as a reference, they immediately contradict Orion and go, I never said that.
I love Kappa. Kappa's been a real one since day one. Fucking a good lad.
Yeah, but it's like so funny to me that Orion try to use these other people, right? And when they attempt to use these other people, they immediately shut it down and go, yeah, no, I didn't fucking say that. What are you talking about?
I am genuinely surprised that I never got reached out to from Orion.
Probably it's because you knew that it was I feel like with you, Diesel, you're a very approachable person, but in the sense of like a drama situation, you've learned a lot over your years. And
yeah,
I think Orion
definitely
didn't
got
do
a
that.
sharp tongue too. So
yeah,
I probably would have laid into Orion back then. So,
yeah. So that's what I'm thinking is that they avoided you more because you would look at it and go, what the fuck are you talking about? And then let Kwite know and be like, bro, what the fuck is this shit? You know what I mean? And I think that's what they were trying to avoid. I think that's my perception on the the
Yeah, I'd avoid me too.
Yeah, that's just speculative. It's just a speculative take, you know?
I know. But if I were me, I'd avoid me.
Nah, bro, you're fine. You just like that goblin pussy. We're not getting into that debate right now.
I can't believe it was 600 people here.
Dude, you posted on your fucking Twitter timeline.
Bro, I'm literally gonna be a goblin VTuber. I do not care.
Do it. I will fucking pay for you to be a goblin VTuber.
When Orion messaged Kappa about it, he specifically led with, hey, do you actually like me, like as a friend? Because Kwite backstabbed me. I want to make sure we're still friends. And Kappa, who I feel was understandably not happy having his name and word used to try and back me into a corner, didn't respond lightly. He shared his actual outside perspective of me and Orion's relationship, and if you read—
Oh my fucking god. Jesus.
Yeah, Kappa laid it on thick to Orion.
Yeah, like very thick. Trying to drag it back with guilt is childish. This is not abandonment. This is a natural end to a relationship that doesn't seem to have any benefits for either side. You feel abandoned because you don't want to let go. Kappa W. Can we get some Kappa W's in the chat? He said what I just said to Orion. Kappa W, chat.
Read the whole thing, agreed with basically all my reasoning for removing Orion from my life, and also behavior that lines up with what you can see going through all of our message logs. For the most part, the rest of the video I haven't covered is Orion's claims I was emotionally abusive and would verbally batter him, while giving vague examples of what he claims I said with no solid proof to corroborate any of it. I'm not sure the reasoning for this part, but the history of this video's availability and publication status is notable as well. The original title in 2018 was Giving Kwite the Axe, Terms of Service Breach and More, and then at some point in the last few years between then and now it got unlisted. That is until recently, when these new round of allegations came out, where Tusk republished the video with a new title, giving Kwite the acts transphobia and more. And
Can I say something? I want to say something.
Say something.
Tusk is a clout goblin little douchebag.
Yeah.
He's a
All right,
clout
let's
goblin
take it-
little douchebag.
Let's take a detour, right? So
Let's take a
commentary
detour.
channels. I have been paying attention to every single video that some of you have been putting out. Okay, I have been paying attention. Your behavior has been noted in my fucking book of grudges. Okay, all right. But let me show you some of Tusk. His name's Ethan. That's public.
Okay, that's public. I was about to say it's public.
So
All
I'm
right.
probably gonna call him Ethan.
All right, Tusk, the little clout goblin. Let's go on a detour. What's
So
going on
that's
with Tusk?
That's a funny one where he's like, "Whoopsie."
Watching the Kwite video now, should have stayed out of
Right.
this. Oh,
And-
hey, asshole. You were the one that made the video and platformed Orion, you fucking dumbass.
And he, again, over the entire course of this fucking moron doesn't apologize once.
Really?
Right?
Throughout his
He
whole
doesn't
Twitter?
apologize once, right? So I archived these, but you can find it there. That is the same one. Hold on, I'm an idiot. Right? But this guy, fuck, yeah, I'm glad your career's dead. Fucking suck a dick, bro. I
Wait,
don't fucking
wait,
care.
legit. For the record, the video I made 4 years ago was in the making before Orion made a statement regarding alleged transphobic remarks. I made this video with little research, and there wasn't much to it. What is with all these commentary channels that just don't do any research? Were you watching Xylee's stream?
I did
With
not
Leon?
get to watch it.
Dude, there was
No.
this guy that made a video on me, on Nick Diorio, on a bunch of people, right? And Leon, because I DM'd Leon, I was like, hey, ask him about the video he made on me, right? Because I'm like curious. And he goes, yeah, I only watched like a minute of Chris's video and then made a whole video on it. I was like, so you didn't do any research? And they just kneeled on him immediately. That's what all right, listen, I'm going to teach you all something. Please, please, for fuck's sake. I am a small channel, so please listen to me. Versus, like, everybody else that is like 100 sub channel. Not to fucking discourage a lot of 100 subs channel. There's probably a lot better than me. But this is my advice. Do the research. Make sure you talk to everybody involved. Talk to somebody who's on the inside, maybe, if you get an opportunity. For fuck's sake! Just do the research. Tusk, you're an idiot. Let's continue on. Orion spoke out about the alleged transphobia stuff, and we decided to add it to my video. I enlisted the video. It was never private because I was told by Orion that he and Kwite dealt with their differences. There was no need to keep it up. In fact, I refused at first. That's great. So you stand by a video that you did little research on. Congrats, Tusks. You're a retard. Let's see here. I saw this drama kicking off again and made a decision to make the video public again. The channel has since been dead. Then I was asked to take it down again, so I did. Then I argued my reasoning for relisting the video, and was permitted to relist it again. I hate you, Tusk. My reasoning for relisting the video in the first place is because it was the only video on YouTube with Orion's official statement in it. I'm not proud of the Oceanus character. Oh, God, he's falling back on the Deaf Noodles approach. Deaf Noodles, too!
Oh, boy.
There's so many Deaf Noodles. There's so many people that do this stupid fucking character arc bullshit.
Oh, my God.
Just be yourself, asshole! Fuck you and your character! I used to be. I'm not proud of the content I used to make, but this video being up was the most important thing. But you said there was little to no research, so it really wasn't that important. Considering the gravity of the current allegations, I responded poorly in the YouTube comments due to an ability to speak without thinking. So if I upset you, I apologize. Not apologizing to fucking Kwite. The video will be public permanently now. Have a look. My parts are cringe, though.
What a horrible, like, could he have just said sorry? Like, I'm not asking, I'm not fucking trying to kneel on him here, you know?
I'm gonna kneel on him. I'm gonna kneel on him. I'm gonna fucking kneel on him until he stops breathing. Like, why? You stand by a video that has little to no fucking research. Then you proceed to say, I took it down a bunch of fucking times because I was told to do that. Then you refuse to acknowledge and apologize on Twitter. I hate people like you, Tusk. Did Tusk ever apologize to Kwite? Ever?
No.
Fuck this guy then. If he
Another one that
apologized, I would have been a lot nicer. But fuck this guy. Like,
this was another one. I know this guy is deliberately edgy, but I just found his response when it first dropped fucking ridiculous.
oh, I can't put that. I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube, but I see. Yeah, yeah, I see.
We'll keep that one to ourselves.
Yeah, we'll keep that one to
But I was
ourselves.
But I was like, what a fucking 180.
Oh my god. Oh shit. Yeah, that's a huge 180. That is a huge 180.
Just big fat fucking L's all around from
There's
all
a-
these like channels, bro. It's
There's a
so
lot-
funny.
Dude, there's so many people. Oh, hold on. I actually have a tweet that I want to show you guys. I stole it from Comment Cop. I stole it from Comment Cop, and I don't care.
Yeah, let's go over that one too.
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
So this guy known as what's this Uxie Dust?
It's a Uxie.
Uxie Dust. Who are they? I don't know who they are.
They're like a meme.
A meme
Page.
channel, a meme page. Okay.
Yeah.
So this meme page quote tweeted Kwite like the day the allegations dropped. So Kwite puts out a meme tweet, had butt sex, and he wrecked my tum-tum. Okay, kind of funny. I'll be honest. Kind of fucked up it happened at the same fucking time of the allegations, but still. Uxie goes, aren't you an R-wordist? Once Kwite drops the video, though, and notice how they only got to, like, what is that, like the 10-minute mark? They only got to the 10-minute mark, and they immediately put out an apology. I would like to apologize to Kwite for jumping to conclusions on the allegations. He's done a good job at explaining everything in this video, but you called him an R-wordist, you fucking dipshit. So my tweet immediately was, hey you, you're a dipshit. Like everybody that comes out now and is like, I'm really sorry that I said those horrible things about Kwite before he said anything. Fuck all of you. Fuck every single one of you.
There were so many people who switched up sides because the optics were reasonable and
Yeah.
good.
Oh
And it was like, Jesus Christ, have some fucking morals, bro.
I know.
Like, I get it. Some of you are young, but like, fucking, do you realize what the fuck you're talking about? Fucking,
True.
seriously, get some fucking balls.
You know who
Shut up
had
and wait.
You know who had the best tweet about this?
Who?
Fucking Diorio.
Of course he does, because he's a George Soros of commentary.
He is the George Soros of commentary. Like, he literally, I'm not even joking, chat. I think Nick got it the most perfect fucking take. I'll just leave this tweet up here for a second if you want to pause and watch later in the VOD. But he basically just predicted this whole situation to the letter. And that was back in February 24th. Jesus Christ.
That's insane that he...
Yeah, he predicted it to a T.
Yeah.
I was talking to him and he goes, how right was I in my tweet? I was like, yeah, you were on the money.
boy.
You were on the money. You were on the money, bro. You were on the money.
It was like people would come to me and they're like, is this real or fake? I know you're friends with Kwite. I'd be like, it's fake and he's going to blow it out of the water. And that's all I would say to most people. And lo and behold, here we are.
I had to, somebody in my Twitch chat, I had to unfollow Kwite on Twitch because I slowly lost hope of him responding. Well, he responded. We're going over that right now. Welcome to the stream. All right. Anything else that we need to know about Tux so I can get my knee off of his neck?
No. Well, obviously, if you go to his video, you can see him doubling down with people in the comments section.
He's still doubling down.
Well, not now. Obviously, he's stopped since he's taken the big fat fucking L.
Right.
People are dunking on him. But
right.
You can see all these old comments. It's probably going to take him down at some point.
He fucking better.
Him defending his dear friend Orion.
You know what's great?
Oopsie.
Is that some people are going to look at this VOD and the part about Tusk, right? They're going to be like, Chris has a larger platform. He's punching down. Yeah, I'm punching down as hard as humanly possible.
Dude, if Chris is punching down, then Kwite dropped an entire fucking nuclear bomb on him, okay?
I love when people do the argument, oh, you're punching down. Hey, asshole, if you fuck something up and you fuck it up royally, you are still open to criticism regardless if you have 1 subscriber or 10 million subscribers. Who gives a shit? You're a human being. I can make fun of you if you don't even fucking make content and you make a stupid fucking tweet. I can make fun of you. So get off your high horse, dipshit. All right. Anyways, anything else that we need to know about Tux?
No, and then as for people doubling down, I mean, I know more very famous YouTubers who doubled down in private. And
Oh, no.
now
Yeah, we
I'm
can't talk
certain
about
are eating
that.
crow.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to talk about them.
Yeah.
Some I haven't even told you.
Yeah,
in
there's a lot
private
you
about
can't
any of
tell
these
me.
people.
It's
But,
totally fine.
I get to sit here and go, oh man, these people are like the fakest motherfuckers on planet Earth, and it is so good.
Right. Oh, God, this is fucking hilarious. All right, let's continue on. Fuck you, Tux, loser.
Notable thing to do, considering that since this video was old and made no mention of the alleged transphobia back then, it was a misrepresentation of what was in that video. Around the time he republished it, Tusk made a tweet with a video attached, a video I didn't manage to archive, unfortunately. But at least in the tweet caption, he promoted his newly titled and republished video, saying in it that he and Orion had talked about what Kwite had done in the past all the way back in 2019. Except they didn't. That video was made in September 2018. I can only make excuses for these two misspeaking so many times. In regards to
Okay, quiet. I know you're being nice, but they're retarded.
See, he's being the bigger man.
I
by
know,
doing
but
that.
like
It makes them look worse.
I'm not gonna be the bigger man. I think you're a fucking dipshit. Every person that did that is a dipshit. Quite. You're being really nice, but I know what I don't know you, bro. But on the inside, I feel like you're like, these people are so fucking stupid. These people are stupid. They fucked up the dates. They couldn't even get their story right on fucking dates. Oh my God. Let's continue.
Everything around the original attempt to give the axe to my career, Tusk and Orion failed to get correct even the most objectively provable parts. What was interesting is Ethan deleted that tweet soon after making it at the apparent request of Orion. Not long after this, the YouTube video itself went unlisted again for a short period after that tweet got made. You can see it unlisted here with the new title and all, before it was finally republished a third time, where as of writing this, you can still view it. If anything changes though, it will be archived with all Orion and I's message logs in the description. Orion's pushiness was also not a dynamic unique to sexual situations. Orion would often push the limits of my other explicit personal boundaries if he wanted something that crossed them. And there were times I'd eventually cave after he repeatedly asked me for it, even if I was overall uncomfortable with the request. As a lot of the time, saying no hadn't been enough up until then, and giving in would get him to stop with minimal conflict and without me having to try and explain in detail why specific things make me uncomfortable. For example, Orion said this in their TwitLonger. Kwite had a rule that I wasn't allowed to take any pictures of him, but he was allowed to take pictures of me. After promising and begging to take a few pictures that wouldn't and still haven't been posted for memories, he let me take a few before he left.
All right, before Kwite explains that part, that entire part of the TwitLonger is fucking stupid because they face docs Kwite the same Twitter thread. So they contradicted themselves almost immediately. It's incredible.
What's funny about Orion doing this is literally everyone Kwite was friends with knew not to take pictures with him.
Yeah.
Right? I have a few pictures with Kwite on my social medias, right? But they're very rare, and obviously his face is cropped out, right? But like everybody fucking knew that. So when I read that, I was like, that is such bullshit. Like Kwite always was the one taking group pictures.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't be in the photo then.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's so easily correctable by multiple YouTubers.
It really is, but they I don't think they took that into account at all. Oh, don't get me wrong, everybody who's talking about the medical documents. I got that pulled up. Don't you worry.
Then later, Orion says, I have a video with him to prove we were together at the time that I was able to post only for myself after begging him to take pictures with me because we were friends. Firstly, there was never some rule set up like that, and I didn't take pictures of Orion on that trip.
True,
Even
Slashes.
if I had, their
Very
face
true.
was in the public and was something he had willingly shared before I ever would have taken these hypothetical pictures. How this section reads to me is that I had set a hard boundary of not taking pictures of my face. This was because that even back then, I was a faceless creator hoping to maintain that anonymity and had anxiety around any of my personal details getting shared with the public, whether that was through someone leaking them or an account someone used being compromised. But instead of respecting my set, stated, and acknowledged boundaries, Orion kept pushing, saying stuff like we're friends and that I could trust them with those pictures because of that. That's behavior he admits doing on multiple occasions. I agreed to do something I was generally not okay with to try and accommodate something Orion wanted because it seemed important to them. And the part where they said they still haven't posted those pictures anywhere is a lie. Not only did Orion obviously post the pictures of my face because of this current situation.
There you go. Hey guys, you know, I have all this information. I'm not going to be using it. I'm going to respect it. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit artist. Oh my god. Dude in the video looks like he smoked a joint. I wouldn't say that. Nerd, holy shit. Slashes kind of just got here, but this is one of the most solid responses I've ever seen. Yeah, to be honest, it's one of the more comprehensive responses outside of the Slazo one that I've ever seen, especially when it comes to drama like this.
Situation, but he also shared them around to people I didn't know at least around or before September 2018, as well as
I forgot about that part, that they were already face doxing Kwite to random people.
That too. Oh yeah.
I forgot about that part. Oh god. Yeah. So they're like, well, I'm gonna respect it, I'm not gonna use it, but then has already been doing it behind the scenes before they came public with these allegations.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god.
sharing other photos of me that I had taken of myself and only shared with a select group of people. Orion might not have posted them publicly until now, but I think taking pictures of my face that he assured me I could trust him with and sharing those pictures with people I don't know is a breach of that trust. And the way he has now used those pictures to dox me and make these kind of false accusations has proved that my initial fears were correct. Going back to boundaries over physical actions, on Skype around April 2017, Orion said he wished he could hug me when I was going through something tough. I let him know that the gesture was appreciated, but that platonic touch was complicated for me, and I generally only wanted to cuddle or have that kind of contact with whoever my partner was at the time. Prolonged contact was my main issue. I was generally fine with hugs of greeting or goodbyes and more casual forms of touch. I have improved with time on this, and I am more tactile with people that I'm comfortable with now, but at the time, this was a boundary I had clearly and directly communicated to Orion. And to his credit, Orion did try to specify that whatever affection he had for me was platonic. However,
it does not come across as platonic. It doesn't. Any of the DMs beforehand, they didn't scream platonic to me. They screamed out of desperation to me. That's just my interpretation of it. Speculate all you want. For me, that it comes across that way. I might be uncharitable to fucking Orion on that one, but it just comes across that way.
Just a few months later, when we first met up in June 2017, that respect didn't really hold up. You could argue that this is less serious considering that it was the day before we got together, but we also then broke up the day after. And at the time, the line was drawn clearly at platonic touch being uncomfortable for me. And for most of the day, it wasn't a problem. Orion would certainly do some casual touch, but I didn't really mind, like a hug when we saw each other, an arm on the shoulder. That wasn't a problem. Important context to this is that Orion's dad chaperoned us from location to location pretty much the whole day. He was skeptical.
So their story already, now their story has even a huger hole in it. So they were like, well, we hung out all the time and blah, 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 blah. And we were alone in the car, right? That's not the case. His dad was there all the fucking time. Every aspect, the dad was there. You're going to see it later on in the video. But it's like an important point to realize that this individual's father was fucking there the entire time. But how can an event like that happen? That they are trying to put across that he R-worded them, right? When the father has been there the entire time. That's just, good job, Orion. Good job. Good job. You're a fucking genius, dumbass.
The goal of his kid meeting a random dude off the internet in real life. He made a point to be there when I first met Orion, would only let Orion be in his car when driving to different places, and when we ended the day at his house, me and Orion stayed in the living room watching a movie the whole time with him in the room at almost all times as well until I left to drive home. I had absolutely no plans to do anything physically intimate at this point, and it's here where Orion crossed my boundaries in a major way. In the photos Orion leaked of my face, specifically the ones where we're at his house, you can see I'm not the one initiating contact in any of them. I'm hanging off towards the end of the couch and Orion is constantly leaning on me. When we sat down to watch Moana with Orion's dad in the room, Orion put his arms around me in a full embrace and I froze up. And he stayed leaning onto and hanging off me for the whole runtime. Again, Orion's dad is there through the whole thing. He's followed us and kept track of where we are the whole day because he's concerned something would happen with Orion. And from the very first time I messaged Orion all the way up until that point, Orion has only ever described his parents as annoying, that he butted heads with them often, and he told me his parents were both physically and verbally abusive on the regular. With all that in mind, I was incredibly anxious, to say the least. I'm trying not—
I could not imagine doing that. You know what I mean? Like going to someone's house after being told that the parents are like physically and mentally abusive. I could not bring myself to go to that person's house. I couldn't do it. You know? Like, I can't believe Kwite did that. I know he's like a really nice guy and shit, and he was going there for a friend and like to hang out with them, but I would be terrified. I get where he's coming from, that he's fucking terrified to be in this person's home, that the fucking dad has been like stalking them the whole time and like watching them the entire time, and that he knows, at least from what Orion is saying that the parents are crazy. Like, I would be pissing myself to do anything with that person, with the family being quote unquote toxic. I'd be horrified.
I mean, this is just my opinion here this time, right? So this is not facts, people.
Yep, not facts.
When Orion is discussing their family and then Kwite regales how he would act with the father present in the room, it makes me think that maybe they're, I'm not saying their parents aren't abusive. I've worked in that field, so I understand it very strongly. But like, it does kind of read more like Orion is like an angsty teen and he's trying to clap back on his parents by being physically affectionate with a partner there, So that's how it kind of reads to me.
Yeah, I still even if we speculate on that, there's still the added element of like being told. Like, imagine being Kwite, not being in that family dynamic at all, and just being told that these parents are horrible people. It'd be just terrifying to deal with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be horrified to, like, even touch their child. I'd be like, oh, my hands are up. Don't fucking hit me. Let's keep going.
Not to move a muscle or do anything that could be interpreted as me reciprocating or making a move, because the dad is right there and I'm under the impression he's on a hair's trigger. Orion knew I was uncomfortable with this kind of contact. He knew his dad did not like seeing him do that with me. And it made me feel like I was being used as a tool for Orion to stick it to his father. A type of, look at what I'm doing right in front of you that you won't do anything about. I know you hate
that
it.
is
And
how
they
it
did
comes
that
across,
at the expense of my boundaries and my sense of safety in that moment. You might argue, did you really care if you told Orion you had a crush on them the next day? But that wouldn't change that this was not the case when it happened, and that I broke it off with Orion less than 2 days after. That was a scenario I did not enjoy being in, and I was relieved when the movie ended, because it meant I could leave and get away from the position I'd been forced into, the way I had been used for someone else's grudge. There were other minor incidents of Orion crossing this line in the time after, when we were explicitly not in a relationship. After Orion went down a spiral of questioning his self-worth and asking me if we were still friends, he said that when we meet up in February in the same conversation as the come on bedsheets message, that
I require snuggles. God damn it. I don't know why I laughed. I don't know.
This is how I know everybody in commentary doesn't get laid.
What? What? Do you fucking say snuggles?
No, I don't say
Then
snuggles.
shut the fuck up.
I don't. Yeah. But can't the other person say snuggles?
I guess. I don't know. I would just be like,
would you deny
I just no.
fine lady snuggles, Chris, if she asks?
No, I wouldn't decline it, but it's still just weird reading it.
You're
like
gonna
I
turn
hate
to her and you're like,
dude.
Bitch, that's weird.
No, dude, the thing I hate, right? Because whatever, it's a conversation between two people. Whatever, you can have it in there. The thing that I get weirded out by is that it's like publicly out there now. Like these DMs have to be vetted publicly, and it makes it so uncomfortable to see it. You know, like this is an intimate conversation. That's the issue I'm having.
he requires snuggles. And considering that he's just vented to me about not knowing if I still care about him, I don't want to say something that might make him second guess himself and go down that hole again. So I told him okay. But when we got closer to the actual day, it was still not something I was 100% on. The day before we met up, he told me the same thing, and my answer was another uncertain we'll see. Even on relatively minor things, Orion would not take a very direct no or denial as a final answer the first time around. In 2017, I had a now deleted Discord server that I started when I was much smaller and had below 1,000 subscribers. I was basically just giving admin and moderator roles to my friends and the people I knew at the time. Since even though it was a community server, it was a very small one where most everyone knew each other and that didn't need a dedicated team. In January 2018, Orion asked me to give him a rank with authority in the Discord server. At first, I declined because I had multiple people already in the role he asked for, but as he continued to ask, I eventually gave it to him because he said he just wanted to help send out notifications for my videos. It's when my channel numbers started snowballing and more people were joining, I realized that having a bare-bones server with only friends as staff wasn't really going to cut it. That original decision wasn't because of anything personal to Orion, it was because of that reasoning. As the community scaled, he just wasn't the type of person I wanted in that position of authority. I'll admit, I probably could have communicated that better at the time. I don't remember if we had any discussions about it at length in calls, but after I removed Orion's role, he, I assume jokingly at first, sent a "how dare you demote me" message, which was fair.
Okay, listen, this is another thing that you guys need to learn. If you're going to be a content creator, you have to understand people are going to get mad at you when you demod them. It's just, I don't know what it is. I've demodded people before. They've written in my chats or like DM me and been like, how dare you do that? How could you? How could you demote me? I'll kill you. Like, I've gotten those DMs before. Like, that's a real thing. I feel so bad for Kwite. I shouldn't be laughing at that, but it's so fucked. It's so fucked. Because I've had this happen to me.
Fair enough, it seemed lighthearted. Not long after that, I had noticed Orion putting personal details of mine in my Discord server. It was admittedly benign ones at first, like that I had a trampoline, but at the time it was something I was very cagey and anxious about, so I let him know not to do that. That's not something people are usually concerned about leaking online, so I didn't blame him really, and Orion seemed receptive. Except just 10 minutes later, I have to tell him to stop again, because he was telling people I was a bottom, and that hadn't clocked to him as personal. It was a bit frustrating, but again, I let it go. The next day, Orion again tells me to give him his Discord rank back, and I give a non-answer, a tentative, I'll think about it. Where after that, Orion then lists a bunch of reasons why he should have the role. Then, not 5 minutes later, he shares information that, while definitely vague, is language I was not comfortable with being used about me in public at the time. This conversation is where the looks part us meeting up is fine message that Orion showed is from. As back then, I had a video that is now deleted talking about, in part, when I first met up with Orion. That was something I had revealed publicly, so it was fair game to talk about. Orion was describing me as a cutie in my Discord server, and I understand that's another weird thing to consider sensitive information, but my headspace as an anonymous creator just starting to get any traction was to be overly cautious. Orion seemed to understand this and asked for some do's and don'ts about what he could share about me, which I appreciated. But after that, Orion asks if he can @ me in the server if he has a question, like something he wants me to respond to publicly in general chat. I told him to ask the question he wanted answered in DMs, and it was very nothing burger stuff. So I tell him no straight up to doing that publicly because it could cause other people to start pinging me in the server over random stuff as well.
Which is true. That's like a good policy to have. Don't ping the fucking creator of the server. Just don't do it. Diesel, you've been using Discord. I assume you have a Discord.
Yeah, I mean, I just set up a server, and it's already one of the rules to not ping me.
Yeah, like it's very obvious. Like sure, a friend of yours, whatever, you can have a policy for that, but if you're not a mod or anything, fuck off. Like Orion is trying to push themselves too into their life. At least that's how I'm looking at it on Discord.
At this point, Orion has shared multiple pieces of what I considered personal info, and I had to tell him to stop more than once, though you can argue that one's on me. But he also wants to be able to ping me in my public server to ask random questions he wants me to give a public response to. I'm not thinking he's evil or anything because of this, but it felt like to some extent he was using his ties with me to gain notoriety in that community. At the very least, this wasn't the type of person I wanted modding my server at the time, so my mind was made up and I wasn't going to give him his rank back. 2 weeks pass and Orion asks me for mod again, and I miss it the first time, so he asks again. I'm finally giving him a straight up no here, to which he in all caps says, "I will fuck your ass." And I'm trying to keep the conversation light but still get the message across, so I tell him no again to stop spamming and call him a nerd as an insult of affection after, kind of like he'd been doing through that conversation already. He still isn't understanding though and keeps telling me to give him mod aggressively, so I put it as straightforwardly as I could, stop asking. And only after that did Orion finally cut it out. This was roughly a week before.
They kept harassing him for a fucking mod roll. This person is terminally online. They need to go fucking outside. Holy shit. Imagine Diesel. Imagine constantly getting fucking asked for a mod roll when you're doing other fucking shit. Fuck off. Fuck off. Like, god damn it.
For that call in March 2018 where me and Orion fell out and stopped talking. Throughout this entire active situation, Orion has demonstrated a consistent pattern of lying. At one point in a tweet after releasing the initial TwitLonger, Orion said that I had deactivated my Discord account, but that luckily he got recordings of it, that I was deleting my side of all the messages. These recordings only showed that the Discord account he spoke with was mine and nothing else. I have no idea why Orion said this. He didn't show evidence for that claim, which isn't new, but it's so provably wrong that it's dumb to say if you aren't absolutely certain about it. I showed as much by posting a small update in my Discord server, just saying that I did not delete my account and that I was working on this statement.
Which is what we were talking about before. If you guys remember back here, where they were like, oh, he didn't deactivate. Apparently, he didn't deactivate his Discord, but they made a. I'm pretty sure they made a very. What's the word I'm looking for? They made a definitive statement that Kwite did delete his Discord account, not just the server, because I remember hearing that his server was deleted, and he talks about that in the video. Am I correct on that timeline?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Orion got caught being wrong on that, he changed the story to me apparently having used a bot to delete my side of all our Discord DMs, insinuating that I did so because I was trying to cover up the truth or I had something to hide. I don't know why he said that either, because it also isn't true. Orion still didn't prove it, and it's very easy to show that. When I go to mine and Orion's Discord DMs, the entire history of our messages is still there. It was all still accessible from my end before this whole thing, and it definitely will be after. I went ahead and archived the entire year plus of mine and Orion's Discord conversations, as well as all of the text messages we've ever sent each other. And you can look through all of them yourself at the link in the description. Some details in the messages are censored for obvious reasons, like both mine and Orion's personal information, as well as the names of people who are not a direct part of this. Orion claims that I kept most conversations we had to voice calls and to texting on Skype because—
Okay, so here's that point. He would use my memory issues against me to gaslight me about things he said and would keep most conversations on calls or Skype. The memory issue thing, I can't get over that. Like I said it before in the beginning of the stream, Diesel, when me and you were talking about the TwitLonger, I kept harping on the fucking memory issue thing. How do you remember something in such hyper fucking detail if you have memory issues? Like, I can't get over that. Like,
the story would sound, if it was like, oh, you know, I was a victim of SA and, you know, my memory issues mean that I can't recall any details of the event. Like, that's a completely, like, that's believable because I've spoken to victims who are like, I can't recall details of my
I get it,
event.
but they're stating that they've had constant memory issues about everything. Use my memory issues against me. That's how it comes across, is that it's everything, which is fucking ridiculous. I can't. Fucking hell.
That's like a humongous red flag in the statement.
Yeah,
like
when I hear that, like, you could say, and it's okay for people to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna remember the exact situation of like the events, but when you make a definitive statement, he would use my memory issues against me. It sounds like a definitive statement that you have consistent memory issues, not just I don't really remember like the full thing that happened to me. You know what I mean? Like, some people word it a lot differently than Orion worded it. Like, I've seen a lot of fucking TwitLongers when it comes to this kind of shit. Nobody says I've read in a TwitLonger they would use my memory issues against me. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, that's a new one. But I mean, you know, we get one to hindsight, and also like, as professionals in this, you read it and you go, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read it immediately. You were in the call. We were in the call together, and I was like, "That."
Yes, I had you react to it.
Yeah, and I was like,
having read it before.
Yeah, and
you just died laughing at that.
I died laughing at that because I was like, "What the? How do you remember everything in perfect harmony? Then how do you remember every little fucking thing?" And prove me right that they didn't remember shit. I fucking cannot believe that that's the situation.
Because messages deleted on there.
They have.
What?
Oh, sorry.
No, what was
they
that?
Ironically have memory issues, but in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Completely played against them.
I know, and they were like, "Oh, memory issues." Yeah, and it fucking destroyed your story. Like, holy shit.
For a certain amount of time, implying that I was trying to not leave any kind of paper trail on purpose. This is part of Orion's attempts to paint what he alleges I did as premeditated, that how I behaved in all our interactions was to put him in a position where I could supposedly take advantage of Orion. What might surprise you is that alongside our texts and Discord DMs, I have also dumped all of our Skype messages that you can look through as well. Even if disappearing messages was the reason I had some apparent preference for Skype and not the major feature it had that Discord didn't at the time, video calling, the version of Skype we used back then didn't actually delete messages, it just stopped them from showing up in chat. The only messages that Skype would fully erase back then were the ones that got manually deleted by a user, and even then it was only a sure thing if it was a text message. On older versions of Skype, the pictures you sent to other people and in group chats would save to a media cache on the recipient's local hard drive indefinitely. I managed to get—
Man, I bet he didn't know that was a thing. I bet he didn't realize that.
That's a huge dub, honestly.
That's a huge dub on... Bro, W for Skype. W Skype. Holy shit. W Skype, my guy. No wonder Keem kept telling me Skype is the best platform. Oh, God.
all our messages and most of the images sent in that time frame together. I'll spare you the long version of the process, but if you want the details on how I got these so you can cross-reference the methods I used, they are on the screen for you to pause and read now, and will also be attached as a document in the file folder containing all these archived messages. The claim that I kept discussions to mostly voice calls is false as well. Throughout the entire time we talked, Orion was by far the one who initiated conversation the most. This would most often be in the form of messages asking if I was around, calling after I gave the affirmative, or calling being the first thing Orion...
Look at the consistency of this call. He goes, they go, come back. 1 sec, call. Then he has to call them back. That's fucking unhinged schizo behavior. Just wait for the call back from the other person. Holy shit.
Orion did to reach out to me. Oftentimes, if I missed the first call because I was busy or otherwise didn't see the notification, Orion would call me several more times throughout the day, or even just one after another, before finally moving on because I wasn't answering. Orion was in control of how we spoke at most points because he was the one starting most of the conversations in the first place. There are examples of me saying I'm only able to text and him requesting to call anyways. And despite that, I agree because he sounds like he's in distress and I'm trying to be there for a friend in whatever way they need me to. None of that is inherently bad on its own, and there's not a problem with preferring call or text, but to completely reverse the truth of the matter by saying I'm the one who actively preferred voice calls, framing it like I did that all intentionally as a master plan so there was no record of our discussions, is complete fiction. Orion...
I don't mean to like derail this, but I'm seeing people in the chat go, "What's Skype? I have memory issues." I shouldn't laugh at That's amazing, chat. Keep it up.
Someone messaged Orion is the type of weirdo to send, quote, pisses on you cutely. Oh, that was pigeon. It was very based.
It's based as shit.
Alleges that during the March 2018 call that during our fight, I called him a, quote, D-word who thinks she's a boy and will never be. In addition to this, Orion claims that he told me his dead name before we met up for the first time, only to be used around his transphobic parents to maintain his cover. But that after learning his dead name, I would apparently use it to belittle him. Both of these are false. Orion's old Twitter got suspended, unfortunately, so I could only ever recover my half of our conversations, but they are also available in the link in the description. But in every message I've sent to Orion on Discord, Skype, through text, or Twitter that I can still get my hands on, all of which you can look through yourself, you will not find a single instance of me A, ever misgendering Orion at any point, or B, referring to him by a name other than Orion, as well as like the general gender-neutral words that I still use for everybody I know. While Orion did tell me—
Can I be honest? Kwite did that a lot better than I did. I have fucked up their pronouns so many times this stream.
Well,
I'm not even doing it on purpose.
You apologize and
Yeah.
you've owned it. You know. Your chat for some reason thinks that people unbecome trans when they're bad people, but believe it or not, trans people can also be bad guys.
Crazy, right? It's almost like human beings, no matter what gender, can be fucking douchebags.
You don't unbecome black when you commit a crime, okay? Like, that's just how it is.
So accurate, though.
His dead name. I have genuinely forgotten it since because I never used it outside of the context he told me to. I can only show you that I never did it in text, but I also never did it through voice calls or in person. In fact, the only person you'll see using an insult of this nature towards Orion is Orion himself. Orion would often go down depression spirals that he would end up messaging me during, and these usually turned into him doing a lot of negative self-talk, just disparaging himself in all sorts of ways that I would be trying my damnedest to watch.
I want to read one of these because it made me laugh. I'm annoying. I'm needy. I need too much attention. I'm not only a developmental disorder, but others that think I'm others that think I am. I'm stupid as shit. They fucking describe themselves. Like in a solid fucking one DM, they describe themselves. I'm sorry. If that makes me come across like I'm a douchebag, I don't fucking give a shit. That is the best description of this fucking person. They just fucking describe themselves in a DM. That is accurate.
I read it in Dennis Prager's voice where he's like, I want mommy, I want milk, I want attention.
Oh, God. True. Self-exposed.
Walk him back from. During one of these spirals in April 2017, almost a whole year before Orion claims I made the D-word comment, he said a nearly identical thing about himself that I immediately...
I'm some dumb... I can't say that again because I'm on Twitch. who wishes they had a penis trying to pass.
Say is not true and try to counter-argue. Just like I was doing for every comment Orion made about himself before he called himself a D-word and continued trying to do until the end of the episode. And I was doing all of this no matter how many times Orion said something to try and shoot down my attempts at reassuring him. There is a single message that I could understand if you interpret it as being derogatory or hurtful to Orion in the same way that the D-word or dead naming him would have been. And it's a message where I call him a Lebanese communist. That was followed up by me saying logic as in the rapper Rules with a Z, which I feel shows the tone of that conversation was not very serious. But the Lebanese part was not autocorrect or a typo, and using it in tandem with communist is important to the meaning. As the reason I said that specifically was because—
I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of funny calling them a Lebanese communist. I'll be honest, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Quite, you made me laugh. Based quite.
Because I had genuinely been hearing stuff about the real life and historical Lebanese Communist Party. Since it was something I had consumed recently, my brain jumped to that as a silly sounding combo of words to a person who had never heard it before. If you don't believe me, or that seems like a convenient cop-out to avoid responsibility, I understand. It may seem like a stretch. But later in that same conversation, after Orion said that I like to bully him from the third person, my next message was saying that all he had on me was Asian slurs. If you don't know, I am half Filipino. Orion—
Wait a minute, he does say an Asian slur in here, right? Yeah, he uses the C word to describe.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I might have to skip. Yeah, I gotta skip that part. I gotta skip that part for Twitch. Just know, apparently, Orion was using Asian slurs against Kwite because they are of Filipino descent, correct?
Yes. Orion
Perfect.
was casually racist.
Orion was just a casual racist.
Yeah, just a couple little slurs here or there in order to confess his love.
If I wasn't streaming on Twitch and YouTube, we would be saying it. Don't worry, chat.
Of knowing if I'm misremembering, or if Orion might have gone back and scrubbed it at some point. It would just be speculating. But even at the time, mutual friends of ours would ask if I was bothered by Orion making Asian jokes about me as often as he did in voice calls. I say in those messages it bothered me sometimes, but I want to make it very clear that I do not hold anything against Orion for these individual comments, or even as a whole. I was not very concerned by the remarks about my ethnicity back then, and I'm still not today when looking in hindsight. In fact, Orion explicitly asked me if I was okay with him joking about it, and I told him directly that I was fine with it. Hell, if you go through our messages, you will definitely see me say some weird, edgy stuff that, even if it's taken out of context, is not something I'm proud of, especially when having to read it back. The reason I bring this up is to show how absurd it is for Orion to even raise this as a point against me. By the logic he used with slurs and bigoted action I've never actually even said or done, he would be guilty of the same thing. Not only are his claims of me being transphobic false, I would have been 17 at the time this happened, and it is hypocritical of Orion to try and condemn these comments he says I made in the manner that he did without mentioning the fact he also showed comparable behavior towards my immutable characteristics, ones he did not share with me. Orion says that we were close and would mutually confide in each other in ways that were beneficial to both of us. And while we did both confide things in each other, the idea that this was an equal dynamic and not heavily skewed in the direction of Orion dumping heavy emotions onto me is absurd. And the idea that we mutually benefited from it is completely ridiculous. I'm going to give another spoken content warning here because this subject matter in particular is grim. Warning for graphic discussions of self-harm, discussion of many forms of abuse, suicidal ideation, and topics in that vein. This is a hard one. Me and Orion have very different accounts of what I said to him when I cut him off. Orion claims I attacked him for immutable characteristics he couldn't control, like his gender identity, and I maintain to this day that I criticized his character and behavior and told Orion I was removing him from my life because of the way he acted. We do agree on one thing I said, though, and it's that one of the reasons I gave to Orion for ending the friendship formally was that he was codependent towards me. I know.
I'm so glad Kwite did that. Just immediately came out the bait and was like, yeah, he was right. Orion was right about one thing. They were codependent as shit. At least he was upfront with it. He's like, yes, we were. Orion got that right. Orion got that right.
He vouches for this because he mentioned it in that old video.
He proceeded to berate me and call me all kinds of really bad names and call me disgusting and too codependent and needy.
And he complained about it on his private.
That is literally what you are, though.
That's what you are.
But that is
the mean names are what you called Kwite.
Yeah. He said a lot of mean things about me. He said I was codependent. Oh my god! He said I was codependent. God forbid that somebody calls you codependent. You fucking bitch.
Twitter the day after we fell out. When someone sees you as their best friend, typically they go to you first with their problems. That's not codependency, you absolute tool. Maybe to an extent that's true. I think it's a nuanced thing, but that's just not what Orion was doing. On February 2nd in 2018, before we met up that month, there was a conversation me and Orion had that I feel encapsulated the nature of our friendship and how Orion viewed me over the course of it. We had a short text exchange where I said I was busy prepping for a podcast I was about to stream and that I had a video to edit afterwards, so I didn't really have the free time to hang. I let Orion know I was busy and I got back to it. A few hours later, I'm wrapped up with the podcast and Orion hits me with, "Hey, can I ask you something?" Apparently the thing that brought this on was that when Orion listened to the podcast that day, the conversation I had with the guest sounded too good. Essentially, I had gotten along...
What? Hey, listen, I have an issue with I have something to talk about you with your podcast. It sounded like you were really enjoying your time with that other person too much. I have a problem with that. What the fuck?
That reads to me like super like
Stalker.
jealousy.
Stalker. Stalker. That sounds like Amaranth's fucking stalker. Sorry, you're having way too much fun with this one person.
And also, I saw people in Bo Black's chat yesterday ask if that was Loudmouth. No, that was not Loudmouth. Loudmouth started in March. That happened in February of that year.
Okay, so
we
that
had
was the
an
podcast.
episode, yeah.
So that was the podcast before your podcast with him.
Yeah, he had like a singular like interview podcast. I think it was that. It might have been somebody else's that he was talking to, the YouTuber. But if it's the YouTuber, I think it is. I'm just gonna not say.
Yeah, I would not
who it
say.
was.
I would not get them involved. Let's continue going.
Along with them so well that it made Orion scared I wouldn't be his friend anymore. In other words, the sight of me having other friends or even being friendly with other people came off to Orion as a threat to our friendship. A message like that can get me worried, as I'm sure it does for a lot of folks. So I tell him to go ahead and he asks, "Am I important to you? Genuinely. I'm not being passive aggressive. I just need to know." You can point out that Orion specified he was acting genuinely, but this is not the setup for a scenario where if these are real concerns around the topic, you'd be getting sincere or untainted answers about it. I was already worried Orion was in a bad spot, so when he asked a question of self-doubt like this, even if I did feel the way he fears, I was scared of what would happen if I said it and felt guilty for even considering. I'm trying to reassure him that I do care for him because it was the truth at the time, even if it had been waning in recent months. When questions like this came up, Orion was very prone to start spiraling and saying awful things about himself. So my knee-jerk reaction was to think he was in distress. A fair assumption because he explicitly confirms it in the very next line. He goes on to say he is loathing himself and isn't sure if he matters. In that situation where it has been made clear I was talking to someone in a vulnerable state, I was scared of what would happen if I did anything other than try to reassure him. The setup was basically...
Can I ask something? I want to get through this video, but I do want to ask something to
Yes.
Diesel. So with Kwite, he was just too kind to let this person go. And it snowballed into the situation as of today. I would assume that Kwite now realizes that he can't befriend people like random spurgs online, right? I really hope he realizes that.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the whole people are like, I've seen people judge Kwite. I was like, oh, why'd you go back? Why are you being friendly with this person who was mean to you? You know, the thing is Orion set up this situation where Kwite felt if he was not overly kind, always there for them, that Orion would take their own life. You know, Kwite did not want to be responsible for the death of someone else, regardless of how toxic that person was.
Right.
You know, and that's why at the end of the video he uses terms like abuser. That is abuse. You know,
Yeah.
that's psychological abuse.
It's emotional abuse, and I'm going to be a little personal here. I've had that situation where somebody used me as a crutch and continuously tried to push their own insecurities, their own situations, and they kept trying to, you know, do things to get my attention or try to force me to continue to talk to them. I've dealt with that. I know what Kwite's going through. And anybody that's like, well, why didn't he leave? It's hard. It's like really hard, whether that's like a friend or a relationship. Like I had that with a relationship. And it's tough. It's a tough thing to like move past. It's a tough thing to like be in the position of because you feel guilty. You feel guilty for all of those things, and it's manipulation on an emotional level because they know that you're a good person and they know that you will stick with them because you feel obligated to help them. That's the issue. It's because you feel that level of guilt. My advice is if you start to see these people, right, that enter your life and try to manipulate you through emotional responses, don't feel inclined to take care of them. Don't. No matter what happens. Hate to say it like that, but those people are the ones that are going to ruin your life. Those are going to be the ones that are going to blame you regardless if you continue staying with them or not. They will do whatever they can to continuously ruin you. That's just how it works. So if somebody is doing that to you and they're saying, I'm going to do something if you leave. Like, fucking leave. Because 9 times out of 10, for me at least, they don't do shit. And they move on to the next fucking person that will deal with them.
Yep. It's hard to walk away from something like that. But, you know, you're not being selfish if you find yourself in that situation and you have to remove yourself.
Yep.
You know, you're being kind to yourself, of which you should be kind to yourself first in a relationship.
Right.
And then kind to the other person.
Right.
Know?
All right, let's keep going.
Don't feel any value in myself about this thing, so I need you to constantly reassure me about it so I can keep feeling it from somewhere. And I wasn't sure if this person I know can be a danger to himself was going to do something drastic if I didn't fill that role. In the right amounts and in hard times, it is natural and okay to lean on your friends to support you. I did it all throughout these last few weeks because having my face plastered everywhere against my will with the false label of rapist immediately attached to it is emotionally taxing, go figure. But with Orion, it was a continuous thing. He'd ask if the good things I'd said about him applied to him now so he could hear me say it again. He would then express his insecurity again, which would prompt me to reassure him more. And then he asked if he can be selfish, which I'd argue he was already being, but I give the go-ahead because I'm seeing Orion in emotional distress. And the thought of saying no made me feel guilty and scared of what would happen if I did. They'd go on to say that they don't feel good enough and that they think I deserve so much more. And after everything they have just told me, I am not going to tell a person saying these things that they're right. I'm already shit scared something bad will happen even when I'm trying to say these positive things about them. I felt pressure to give the same validation I've had to multiple times this conversation and before it. Orion would repeat the same line, put himself down, saying others are more deserving of my time, which left it to me to build him back up all over again. Orion said he was scared of losing me, a fear again that he said came from just seeing me with other friends, or worse, that he was keeping me back, framing himself as a burden. And so here I am, once again in a corner where I have to emotionally prop Orion up so he can feel validated externally where he doesn't feel it internally. I kept trying to convince him I care and said that I feel guilty for not talking to him more, and looking back, that's not good. That is a problem. Guilt should not have been what was driving me to make myself interact with somebody. It should have been a genuine want to interact with them. It's having a good time with somebody versus feeling like you owe them your time, where if you don't give it to them, you feel like a bad person. The conversation continued along those lines until Orion just straight up says, I care so much about you and I would be next to nothing without you.
Oh, God, that is the most manipulative sentence of all fucking time. Oh, God, it just brings back memories for me. Ugh.
Orion hinged his sense of self-worth on what I say to him, and as a result would rely on me to provide validation that he couldn't find within himself. That is so unbelievably toxic, because now I've been made responsible for another person's sense of self-worth. If I leave, I feel like the asshole, because Orion told me how much he needed me, and I'd be proving the fears he trusted me with, and that I said weren't true, to actually be correct all along. Even though any of the commitments of never leaving, or assurances of us still being friends, were made when I was speaking with someone I was afraid might hurt themselves if I hadn't done that. That is emotionally draining on any person and honestly borders on abusive. That conversation was towards the end of our time talking to each other, but it was by no means new. Behavior like this came up early and throughout the whole year before I finally found the will to do something about it and cut off Orion. This type of codependent behavior was a recurring thing. I'm going to be hitting on a broad timeline over the year we knew each other, because if I covered every instance of this happening like I did those last messages, it would take a while, and honestly I don't have a great time going through and reliving these any more than I've had to already. Orion's pattern of oversharing personal and intense topics started in our earliest conversations. He mentioned being annoyed by his dad very often in one of our first exchanges. Then after barely talking for the next month, only starting to speak regularly in the few weeks after that, and only having known each other for 2 months total by then, Orion came to me in distress saying he felt like he needed to come clean to me about something and that he didn't have anyone else. That put me on edge. It seemed heavy, and I'm apparently this person's only option. I'm thinking that if I'm not there, then he's got no one else. So I tried to be an ear for him even if we barely knew each other. Orion then trauma dumped about his self-harm.
I'm glad he said the words trauma dumped. I'm gonna be honest. This person is just trauma dumping all the fucking time to make people feel guilty for them. It's very apparent when they were also on Twitter doing the trauma dumping. That's what made me not initially say anything about the situation in the first place. It just looked like this massive fucking trauma dump that I'm sitting there going, this is too much posturing on Twitter for me to jump and be like, yeah, this is most likely a believable situation. Again, believe all victims, but also realize that situations like these do happen where somebody may not be putting a story out for actual good intentions. They might be people that are just trying to fuck with somebody that they perceive as an issue to them. Like, I don't think it's crazy. Like, that's how I felt like when they first dumped everything. And we were in the call together. I didn't say the words trauma dump, Diesel, but you know what I mean. Like, when I was reading it, I was like, this seems like just like too over the top. It seems too ridiculous to me. All right. Anything you want to add about all this information here at all?
No,
like, is there anything in
no,
particular?
This all speaks for itself. I mean, this is trauma dumping. I would agree with Kwite's assessment of the emotional abuse and all of that stuff, you know.
Right.
I mean, obviously he's my friend, but like, you know, I've had experiences like that with, you know, women in my life, so I can understand where all this is coming from, and it speaks to me on a very personal, emotional level. So I'm glad he's getting like recognized and it's being seen rather than like, you know, he's being mocked for
Well, it's more speculated on. But like before, it was all speculated, like how the situation happened. And I doubt anyone's going to realistically mock Kwite for being trapped in this situation, because there's no need to mock him. Yeah, you could do that if you're a heartless douchebag. Like, normally I'm the kind of guy that laughs at shit. Like, I don't care. But in situations like these, especially situations where somebody is trying to commit life ruination, that's how I perceive Orion's attempts on Kwite, is a form of life ruination. That's pushing the boundary. Like, it's not me. I can't laugh at something like this. I can laugh at like little things, but like normally I'll laugh at like a whole video or some shit, or like laugh at a drama that's like inconsequential or some shit, right? But this is not something that I can laugh at when somebody's using their way of making people feel bad as a form of weaponizing and forcing a relationship to continue unnecessarily.
Yeah, well, you know the type of dude who would say something negative about it.
Well, of course, like, there's always gonna be one contrarian that's out there.
Like, bro, like, come on, just fucking get up and go. Like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, no shit, you could say that from a point of neutrality. Like,
yeah, it's just ridiculous.
This early into knowing me, and told me he relapsed that night and he hated himself for it. I am flailing to comfort him despite having no idea how to do this kind of thing. And since he had said I was the only person he had to go to, it felt like I had to leave the door open for him to feel comfortable reaching out to me again. Otherwise, in the future, Orion might just hurt himself instead. A few days later, and I hear more and more about how Orion doesn't get along with his parents, until eventually Orion vented to me about how controlling his mom was and wouldn't let Orion do anything ever. Orion was berating himself here as if he was uniquely bad for having the reactions he does, and that was when I started first sharing deeper than surface level personal stuff. I was trying to relate to Orion in some way so he felt less alone in his pain. I would not usually talk about these things with someone I knew this little, but this is someone I've known for 2 months who my most notable interactions with were him being very distressed and defaulting to me for help. I felt like it was the only thing I could do to try and get Orion to stop spiraling on an issue like that. Just a month after that, Orion told me he was being physically abused by his parents and described it in detail. Coming out about abuse and asking for help is not something to discourage, but it's a lot at once for anybody, especially when it's coming from someone I've only known for at most 3 months. Orion even acknowledges this in the conversation while I'm trying to ease his mind about how it's affecting me. I was trying to make sure he didn't feel guilty for reaching out and then would potentially leave to go do something drastic. Orion did warn me this was a heavy subject matter before venting about it, but after learning he was being physically hit minutes earlier and are actively distressed now, I'm even more scared than usual that Orion might hurt himself if I didn't stay with him. So I said yes and tried to be there for Orion until he was out the other side. Another week passed and Orion messaged me frantically. He says his parents were hurting him again, and I am in panic mode because after knowing this person for only the last few months, he is suddenly ideating suicide in front of me. Orion was describing the method they used, calling himself a coward for not going through with it. He said he wished he was more suicidal like normal people so that he could just go through with it. Orion's telling me no one would miss him, not even me, all while I'm trying to fight back against every single one of these things. Every time
That's so fucked to put that onto somebody that you just met after a few months. That's fucking disgusting. I can't get over that point of just like dumping onto somebody your entire life's fucking story and your issues onto somebody that you just met a few fucking months ago. That shit makes my skin crawl. It makes my skin crawl.
I tried to tell Orion he has inherent value and it's still worth living and that people cared about him, Orion would shoot it down. He would tell me that I wouldn't miss him for long, even though I'm pouring my heart out trying to show him otherwise. I hate having to read these back now. I had my own mental health issues that I didn't deal with well at the time. And on top of that, I was now stressing that my friend was going to kill himself if I'm not there when he says he needs me. I felt trapped, like there were no other options but to try and help this person whenever he asked, because otherwise I might be leaving him to die. In comparison, the time it took me to open up about personal issues was much longer after I had already been through multiple of Orion's vulnerable moments, and often only in response to Orion describing these same issues first, in an effort for me to try and show him he wasn't alone in what he was going through. Early on, Orion would offer to talk with me about stuff like this, and I would thank him, but still outright deny his help. I've always been more cagey and contained about talking about these issues in regards to myself, and it wasn't until early April 2017 when I first really vented and went back and forth with Orion. It was over a very graphic discussion about self-harm, which I have censored here. It is both personal and grim, so I don't want to show the details, but Orion gave genuinely helpful advice on how to try and not self-harm again, and I really appreciated it. I did for sure trust Orion with some personal issues and parts of my life, and I would talk to him about it fairly regularly, but it was never absolute. I always talked with multiple friends about my issues, some who could directly relate, others who couldn't. At times, Orion would be worried about me, or I asked him if he was free, but he'd be in the middle of something. And even when he said he'd drop what he was doing and tried to convince me to get on a call and talk about it that instant,
Oh my fucking god. Call. Okay, holy shit. I can't get over the amount of times this person would spam Kwite. Fuck.
So I don't want to rush the stream, but I did book with Matt Pitt at 11 p.m.
It's all right. I can continue on without you if you're going on that.
Yeah.
But like,
not now, but I'm just telling you.
No.
Like
I understand that part. I feel like we already got Orion's codependence, socially transactionable. What's the one that you would want to do?
Call.
Yeah, the
mediation call.
My final call with Orion.
Big Bung L.
Yeah, Big Bung L. We could skip to that because the rest of it is just building up more of the idea of like them using Kwite to actually gain some form of clout. There's an account of the call itself that they had mediation. Then there's escalation. So you want to go to the final call with Orion, right?
Yeah, that's the mediation call.
All right, perfect. We will get to write that. We'll just skip ahead for you guys.
Depth. One thing that me, Bung, and Orion all agree happened in that call is that I got aggressive and explosive. And at points, I absolutely was. It is an emotional response that, looking back, I feel was completely reasonable, especially considering the circumstances I was put in during that conversation. This call, which I sincerely tried my best to speak civilly and keep my cool in, is with someone I distanced myself from half a year ago because of his codependence toward me and the emotional strain he put on my mental health. Someone who would now come back into my life by appearing in a video that self-admittedly was trying to destroy my career, in which he publicly outed my struggle with self-harm before I ever got to open up about it on my own, where he also claimed I was emotionally abusive to him with nothing substantiating it, and said that I dropped him from my life solely because of my arrogance over my newfound success and hunger for more of it. All of this, again, which made me certain that I had made the right choice in cutting him off. I'm coming fresh off the back of that upload. This call also notably took place on September 15th, 2018. Me and Bung talk about having the call set up and actually starting the call in our Discord DMs on that day. But meanwhile, outside and in real life, where I lived at the time, placed me and my family squarely in the path of Hurricane Florence. I had relatives closer to the coast who had moved in with us because their house was at risk of being destroyed and it was unsafe to stay there. Even where I lived further inland, the storm was a threat we had to prepare for in case of losing power, debris, and general infrastructure failure. It wasn't some kind of non-issue just because we weren't by the ocean. The storm and the new people in my house was a change of environment for me, but manageable on its own. And this isn't my attempt at bringing up an excuse for my actions, but rather a genuine factor in my ability to participate in this call and the amount of stress I was actively managing at once during the time. I let Bung know this could be an issue the day of, and she had even apologized for putting me through all of this in the middle of a hurricane. Unfortunately, it did become an issue when the basement where all of the equipment I used to make videos had flooded. My stress was threefold of thinking I'd almost lost all the expensive equipment I needed to do my job, what it meant for my family as far as costs and their future plans, and just generally still being in a hurricane. This was
So the situation being is that the call in of itself, he was already stressed out and he wasn't talking to Orion at all, correct?
Yeah, so they had been basically having spats, and so they approached Bung, and she was like, "Okay, I'm fine with being the mediator of this call."
But why was Bung involved in this? Are they friends with Orion or like?
Yeah, so at the time, Bung was mutual friends with both Orion and Kwite, right? And so she offered to be the neutral mediator in the situation. Obviously, that has since changed. And
Yeah.
Quite's gonna get into it, but I mean, if we go out of order here,
That's all right. To be honest, the call in of itself is just them trying to mediate the situation.
Yeah.
He got frustrated because Orion was getting things incorrect. He got frustrated. He did yell at them, excuse me. And then they got on another call again and cleared everything up, right?
So Orion was going to people still and sharing personal details of Kwite, despite them having their falling out, right?
Right.
So that is where a lot of the frustration comes from for
Okay.
Kwite in this situation.
Okay.
Um,
What about
Danny Bung at
Yep,
the time
Yep.
was a neutral mediator.
Mm-hmm.
Since that has happened, Bung has separated themselves from their entire original community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying they're above the drama. Now, they said they were above the drama during the Slazo situation.
Yeah, that's
Despite them-
always great.
Despite them being fully involved 100% and being personal friends with the accuser.
Oh, sweet God. So Bung just can't keep their fucking nose out of situations that repeat themselves.
No, she's above the drama, Chris.
They're not. if you did not learn from the Slazo situation what to do and what not to do, you fucking idiot.
For some reason, somehow, despite not being that great of an artist, Orion became a storyboard artist for Confinement, which is Bung's series. So now Bung is speaking on this, not as a neutral party, but speaking from a point as a boss. But then it goes further than that. You can find public tweets of Orion as far as like 2021. And by the way, guys, I did personally privately go and ask people close to the situation, are Bung and Orion still dating? And basically, nobody's really sure, but the last time anybody spoke to Bung, Orion and Bung were dating. They were a couple. And Bung's statements on their community post, they speak of Bung and Orion as a we, as in they're dating. Now, I should mention, Bung is in Australia.
It's always Australia. It's always Australia. Holy shit. Why do these Australian people cause problems? Hyojins from fucking Australia and all that shit. Like, why?
The Slazo and the girl that accused them.
Australians! You're all crazy from Australia. The only good Australians are fucking Aussie Wordsmith, Mitch, fucking Max Mofo, anything for views.
So I will say Kappa is Australian and he was very based in this.
And Kappa.
So yeah, big ups for him. But I will say the Lord Bung, her statement has gotten absolutely demolished now.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
So I know Bung was making good money from Confinement. I know they have staff to pay. But they say things like, if anything, we're risking getting absolutely destroyed by a very wealthy YouTuber.
Right.
Like, statements like that are just so funny. Knowing that Confinement does numbers, the Patreon did numbers. I'd imagine a lot of people are unsubbing from that Patreon.
Yeah, I would. You would think, right?
Yeah. So
let's see.
There's that. It's bad. Basically, all of them are like, "Fuck you."
I know. Also, to everyone that got mad at the Australia crack, listen, a lot of Australians get into fucking dramas. There's a lot of good Australians, but a lot of you motherfuckers online get into drama. Oh, all right. I think the video in of itself, we've already explained the call and the rest of it. I know that he is going to be taking a break for a month, correct?
Maybe taking a break, maybe retiring. Right?
Maybe
people
retiring.
speculated that he was thinking of retiring before this, right? And that's just like a cherry on the top. No,
right.
He was not thinking of retiring before this. That is wrong. It was not on the table, right?
Right.
But he did want to remain anonymous, and this ruined that.
Yeah, he got screwed. All right, we're gonna move past the video because I feel like is there anything else that we need to go over? Because I feel like we got the call and everything. Because I know you have to go with Matt soon. I did want to go over some tweets though, and then we're done.
Let's go over some tweets.
All right. So right here, so this is fucking Orion after Kwite posted the video. Right, I saw Kwite posted a response, but it's like an hour and 40 minutes long, and I don't have time to talk about it right now. But I'll be treating this with the utmost respect this deserves. I can't watch it just yet, but I will try tonight. So they're already, in my opinion, complaining about the length of the video, right? That's just how I'm looking at it. Then they proceed to drop this, which, Diesel, I'm like mentally drained by this tweet. This tweet mentally fucking drained me. Hey, I have it. So this is their response to the video so far that I'm aware of. Apparently, someone in chat said that they posted again, but it might be a troll.
Yeah, they did not post again.
Yeah, so it's probably a troll. All right, so hey, I haven't seen the video, but I noticed quite a bit of lying in the first 10 minutes. Good job. Already starting off strong. That you only watched 10 fucking minutes of an hour and 40-minute video. The reason that me and Diesel are stopping is because we've researched this video to fucking death. Like, I can skip a little bit of a section because we have the full context. You, bitch, you only took 10 minutes of an hour and 40. Fuck you. Oh, my God. After I post this, I'm logging off for a while, running away, I see. But here is undeniable proof that what I said occurred did. Thank you for everyone's support. Okay, so chat. I'm going to change the talking real quick. Chat. Let me ask you something here, chat. And I'm going to test how smart you all are right now. The 600 people here, I'm going to test how smart you are. Now, do you think that they provided actual evidence to support that they were actually taken advantage of at all by this tweet? Just going to ask you guys. Do you think that they provided actual proof? I'm going to put ones in the chat if you think that they did, twos in the chat if they didn't. No? Wow, I'm seeing a lot of no's. I'm seeing a lot of no's in the chat. I wonder what the evidence is. Oh, it's a screenshot of their licensed psychologist. Now, Diesel, what's wrong with this document?
Oh boy, Chris, where do we begin?
What's wrong with this document, Diesel?
As many people have pointed out, it is copy and pasted. Actually, if you look right over there at the right of your screen in the corner, my editor, Star, has been gracious enough, as being a mutual of Orion, to provide the fucking Mayo Clinic copy and paste of the document.
Orion, this was clearly a copy pasted fake. A real medical document like this would be proofread. This isn't looking good for you.
Thank you, Star, using her mutual status to talk to Orion.
Star, you're a fucking genius. Oh my God.
So it also repeats stuff. There's grammar issues. I mean, point something out, Chris. This plenty.
I'm seeing two signatures on the page here. One randomly in the top right, and then one where the signature is. That's
crazy, right?
Damn, that's crazy, my guy. That's fucking crazy. What else? They also fucked up censoring anything for the Cornerstone Council. Like, what else?
Yes.
There's that. They're saying that they have post-traumatic stress disorder, but they stated that they had BPD and autism. That's what they were diagnosed with. But the diagnoses that they're posting here is saying PTSD.
Could be one of many. That's possible, right? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there.
I'm not.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's be real.
Let's
why am I
be
giving
real.
them the benefit of the doubt?
I'm not being nice about this. This is copy and pasted. These two fucking signatures should not be on the screen.
You noticed they didn't censor out the psychologist's medical license number.
Oh yeah, they didn't do that either.
People were nice enough to look up this individual, and the signature does not match the doctor.
No fucking shot. No shot. I had no idea that part was right. Oh, also post-traumatic stress disorder has 2 T's in it. The more you look at this document, the worse it gets.
Twitter individuals have pointed out that it might be illegal to forge medical documents, of which that is possible. Now, I don't know of anybody who has reached out to Cornerstone Counseling, but if it turns out that Orion is not a patient of them, I could see Orion being civilly sued for this at the very least.
At the minimum. I can't believe that they posted this and said, I'm just going to leave Twitter for a while.
Imagine leaving Twitter for a while.
Oh. Somebody in chat saying, Chris, that faculty is a children's clinic.
Oh, it's a children's clinic. I mean, given their age, maybe they went there right around...
Back in 2018, like 17 to 18.
Yeah. you could go to a pediatrician until you're like 23 or 24 or something. So, like, if you don't have a primary care, at least here in the States. So
I
who
love
knows?
I love this. I love this document. I love I love it so much. Oh, all right. So then some other people right here, you know, just like your editor, stated that it is a copy paste and incorrect.
Isn't it illegal to make a fake document like that?
That's what we're speculating on random. So this is the tweet that I saw, and I don't know. I'm just gonna put it on screen. You know what? Fuck y'all. Fuck all you losers. I don't care that I tried to ruin Kwite's reputation. You can't stop me from going downstairs and watching some clips of the hit TV show Family Guy and laughing at your tears.
I don't fucking believe it.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it either, but it's funny. It's funny, right?
Yeah, that's a funny one.
It comes across that way with this. It comes across with this document. Even if that's fake, that encompasses this fake document so well.
Yeah.
It encompasses the fake document.
Yeah, that's definitely a fake tweet.
Oh, it's definitely a fake tweet. It's just funny. It encompasses the feeling of how shitty this document was. But that seems to be all. Is there any closing remarks that we have, Diesel, in response to Orion? Is there anything that you want to say to the 600 people watching right now with Kwite? I know a lot of people are Kwite's fans in here.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
they're probably going to want to know if he's doing all right and everything. It's your way to end it.
Guys, I talked to Kwite very recently. He is taking a break. He's dealing with shit. I will go see him soon. He's fine. Okay? Like, this was very difficult. It was very hard. You know, and even as his friend, it was very hard to stay quiet. It was miserable to see someone I would take a bullet for go through this. You know, in the future, guys, let's just remember to wait for all sides to come out before speaking on it. That's all I ask. That is it. That's all I want. Moving forward.
That's all that's needed at the end of the day, is to like make sure that you actually take the time and wait. And to be honest, a lot of people don't take that into account. I even saw like a lot of people that I saw on Twitter that I know, right, that I've worked with before, being like, wow, Kwite's taking a while to like respond here. That's not an issue, waiting for somebody to respond when it comes to serious allegations like these. Slazo took months, if I remember correctly, right? To respond to everything that happened.
I believe it took about a month.
About
and
a month.
The reason is because I'm almost certain he had a lawyer look over his statements before speaking. And that's a completely reasonable thing to do. It's completely reasonable to get legal involved.
Yeah,
it's this shit's serious.
It's completely reasonable, and please don't like jump on every allegation that you hear, because it ruins lives. And the people that jumped on the hashtag drop Kwite are the worst.
Sent you the US code for penalties of document fraud in Discord DMs.
All right, I'll pull that up when Diesel leaves. But the thing that you guys have to understand is that when you jump to these kinds of conclusions, it can ruin lives. So make sure that you do the research properly. Make sure that you give people time to respond. And to the people that jumped on the train of the hashtag drop Kwite stuff and called him like a fucking R-wordist and all of this shit, there was one guy, and I know you know who I'm talking about, Diesel. The Doodle Poodles guy. To this guy, I'm just gonna pull him up on screen here because I went back to his tweet and I asked him, is this shit still up? To retards like this, I can't believe you sleep well at night, my dude. Delete your tweet.
I will say they did apologize.
Oh, they did? Where?
Yes. They made a new tweet. So if you click on their profile, you can see it.
They did, but still, they jumped on that.
They jumped on it very hard.
Yeah, they jumped on it hard. I know I'm in the wrong. I said before, I can admit I'm wrong with something big and important, but you still jumped on it regardless. It doesn't matter that you apologize now. The issue being is that you did that in the first place. And that tweet went fucking viral. Obviously, because everyone was fucking making fun of you, and it was deserved, but still. So, my one responsibility to this chat: hear people out before you make snap judgments. That's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. I thank Diesel for coming on today to filling me in on things since he's a friend of Kwite's. I know the chat probably wanted to know how he was doing. And thank you, Diesel, for coming on. I don't want to keep you any longer because I know you have to go to Matt.
No. Now we're ahead of schedule, but you know.
I know.
Thank you for having me on, Chris. I didn't want to do a stream on this because I didn't want to. So I appreciate you giving me the platform. I think you've given me a bigger platform to speak to people than I could have had before anyway.
Yeah, I'm surprised so many people turned out. I genuinely appreciate the people that did turn out and donated and everything. It means a lot. And then on top of that, just getting Kwite's story out there more, for more people to talk, for Diesel to get a platform to talk even more. So I thank you for coming on, brother.
I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate all the dubs being given in chat. But you know, give the dubs to Kwite, not me. Fucking bro went through fucking hell.
Yeah,
you know, like
give the dubs to Kwite.
It was rough at times. You know, it was. I spent a lot of time with him as we were going over this, and it was tough.
I'm happy that he's doing better. Just give him my best wishes, and that I hope he figures out what he wants to do soon. All right, man.
But word. All right, Chris, have a good rest of your stream.
Thanks,
I'm going to go talk about this again.
Yeah, best of luck, brother. All right, Diesel, thank you for coming on, brother. Thank you to everybody that came out today, by the way. I genuinely appreciate it. If you did enjoy the content, like and subscribe to the channel. We do streams like these pretty often. When it comes to like dramas and situations that need to get more attention. I genuinely appreciate to the 600 plus people that came out to watch throughout the majority of this. Thank you to the donators as well. If you guys want to become a member, the link gets posted constantly. It's in the description as well. We do members only content as well. I'm just giving you guys the heads up on that. So thank you guys so much. I do see here, the last thing here we're going to talk about is this situation here involving the 8 U.S. Code by 1324C, penalties for document fraud. So apparently there is a law based on Cornell Law School. Now, I don't know what state this individual lives in, and laws are kind of like state-to-state issues. So it may or may not be illegal in the state that Orion lives in, but regardless, something like this should be handled incredibly. It's federal law. Shit, it's federal law. Ugh, yeah, that's not good. So if that clinic decides to do something, they might be fucked. You never know. They might be fucked. They might be fucked in the future. Jesus fucking Christ. Orion, this is my last thing to you, and I'm gonna be brutal here. You're a leech, a parasite on people, a leech, an actual leech, a parasite. Now, does that mean that the other half of your statement that's going to come out is going to be disregarded? No, I will take a look at that and make the judgments based on your information later. Right now, though, based on the information that was provided, which Kwite has provided way more evidence that you even dreamed of putting out, you are now on notice for shit like this. I do want to say again, do not harass Orion at all. You just want this kind of person to fall off into irrelevancy. You do not want to report them. You don't want to do any of that because it just makes the situation worse and you make a victim out of that person. So please stay off their Twitter. Do not go to any of their socials. Don't do anything. And then also, and I understand that this is rough to hear this, but listen to their side when it comes out and make a better snap judgment based on that. Now, am I saying Orion is fucking guilty of being a fucking weirdo? Honestly, with the information Kwite's provided, they're a fucking parasocial creep. It's just how it is. That evidence was damning at some points. So please, do not harass Orion. Give Kwite the support he needs. And make sure you guys go over to the Now Recording podcast. I'm not sure if they are going live or not. I think, let me see here. Are they going live now recording? I don't know if they're going live. No, they're not. Okay. So make sure you guys give Diesel support. He's going to be helping out Kwite for the next few days. And I thank everybody that came out, and I thank everybody for the generous donations and the viewership today. So please like, comment, subscribe, share this stream around so that Diesel's voice can get handed out further. Reddit, Facebook, doesn't matter. Show your grandparents, grandma, and become a member. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great night.